Welcome back, True Seeker. Apologies for the late start and perhaps a fitting time to start now that I look at the clock. But anyhow, the Donald Trump indictment, the fourth indictment out of the fourth state, Georgia. MLK killed in an election year on April 4th, 4-4. The 95th day of 1968. His sister just died at age 95. Of course, he was named after Martin Luther, who wrote the 95 Theses against the Jesuits and the Catholic Church. Well, really against the Catholic Church, which created the formation of the Jesuits. Martin Luther and the 95 Theses. If you don't know that part of history, there's that phrase. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Martin Luther dies shortly after the Jesuits are formed, who wrote the 95 Theses, MLK in the 95th day of the year. Again, his sister just died at age 95. But he died on 4-4. Georgia's the fourth state. Fourth indictment against Trump. Fateful number. Trump was number 45 in U.S. presidential numbers, but he was the 44th person to be U.S. president, following number 44, Obama, who was then beat by Joe Biden, Obama's vice president, who's now president. Anyway, we're going to make a lot of sense of this, and the reason the thumbnail of this video is Donald Trump under an umbrella with Aaron Judge of the Yankees and the Braves star player, the Atlanta Braves. The reason that's the thumbnail is because I'm going to show you why it's not an accident that this indictment's over the 2020 election that was on the date November 3rd, 11/3, and why on the night of this indictment that was rushed, today they're talking about in the news. Today's the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th. Trump's brother, Trump's a Jesuit educated at Fordham. His brother died on this day not too many years ago, back in 2020. Trump's brother, Robert. But what I'm going to show you is why the score of that game, Atlanta last night winning 11-3 over the Yankees, Trump's team, is not an accident. Yesterday was the 138th day of this MLB season, which began March 30th. And again, we talked about why the Nationals should beat the Astros in Game 7 of the World Series long before it happened, because of it being the 115th World Series, and Trump took office with the 115th Congress, and the World Series being 138 days, that Game 7 game after Trump's birthday. And again, if you're new here, I guess to make sense of what I'm trying to say, let me just show you why this channel is called GematriaEffectNews. We report patterns that happen persistently, showing how rigged the game is, from the pro sports game to the election, and how it's all part of essentially a big Roman circus. All roads lead to Rome. Look into the Roman Catholic Church and their military order, the Jesuits, who have so much influence in this nation, and now more than ever. And a lot of the big faces in the news and names you'll be amazed at how many of them are Jesuits. Even superstars like Denzel Washington, everyone's favorite actor. And Trump's an actor, and he mirrored Make America Great Again from Ronald Reagan, an actor. But anyway, look at this, you guys. Let's go through this piece by piece. So today is August 15th. The indictment was last night as the baseball game was wrapping up. Again, it was the eve of the Jesuit order's birthday. We always talk about just how many Jesuit things go down in Atlanta, like they do in a lot of American cities, but Atlanta's a little bit more special. We call Atlanta the 15th city, in fact, and here we are on the 15th, where this is just the entire focus for the entire news day, right? Because it wasn't really part of yesterday's news cycle because it happened late at night. But today, Atlanta, fourth indictment out of the fourth state for Donald Trump, the 44th human being to be U.S. president. I say human being, assuming that's what these people are. Anyway, look at this. It was the 138th day of the season that the indictment happens out of Atlanta, and Atlanta beats New York. The Yankees, his team, 11-3. Look at this. Here's why it matters. If you write out Donald Trump, it equals 138. And what we're going to talk about is how it's important to run the alphabetical order forwards and backwards. Donald Trump is also 159 when you run the alphabetical order in reverse. We talked about what just happened with the Montgomery Brawl on the 159th anniversary of the riverboat battle in the Civil War. Montgomery was the capital of the Confederate States. And again, you had Trump in Montgomery. The very next day, you had the riverfront brawl. And again, there's a lot to it. Henry Ruggs was back in the news, who's from Montgomery for what happened in Vegas, who's hosting the upcoming Super Bowl 58 when Donald Trump won the 58th U.S. presidential election after announcing from the 58-story Trump Tower and hiring the 58-year-old Steve Ray for Inauguration Day, the Nationals announcer, only for the Nationals to win the 115th World Series after he took office with the 115th Congress. But yeah, if you go back and look at that 115th World Series, which we will, but just to skip a little bit ahead, you'll see that the Nationals won the World Series 138 days after Trump's birthday, and they won the game with 159 pitches. And also that night in the NBA, the same cities were playing in the NBA that were playing in the World Series. The World Series was Washington, D.C. and Houston, and the NBA, it was Houston and Washington, D.C. And the Rockets got a very symbolic win. Mike D'Antoni, the coach at the time, got his win number that was the 115th prime to go with the 115th World Series. But the Rockets also won with a huge score. They scored 159 points on the same night that 159 pitches were thrown. And, Houston, at that time, they'd recently buried George Herbert Walker Bush, the part of the last Republican presidents before Trump. You had the son Bush, and then you had the father Bush, and they're part of Major League Baseball. They used to run the Rangers franchise with some connections to the Astros. Last time people really saw George Herbert Walker Bush was after the 113th World Series, 1-1-3, like last night's score 11-3, like the election 11-3. Again, that's another special number. Donald Trump is, very much part of this Masonic network. The Freemasonry branch that has its headquarters in the federal city is the Scottish Rite, Scottish 113. 103 in reverse. Remember what they did last year? American football is credited to a Scottish Rite Freemason. But last year, Patrick Mahomes, you see how State Farm is also 103? State Farm's 103, like Scottish. Last year was the 103rd NFL season, and the State Farm star athlete is Patrick Mahomes. He wins the Super Bowl in State Farm Arena, coming into that game 10-3 in the playoffs for his career, and then he became 11-3. And again, Len Dawson died 172 days before the season began. The reason I like to spiral out like this and be tangential, a little bit off topic, is so that people can see that these topics go beyond just Donald Trump. Some people will come and watch my video and think that I'm just after Donald Trump. No, I'm showing how this big, sick game connects to all these people: Trump, the Jesuits, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, the Bushes. Just trying to give the full picture. But Len Dawson last year, the Chiefs' great quarterback, died exactly 172 days before the Super Bowl on Kobe Bryant Day, who died in a big Jesuit ritual. And Kobe's from Philly. That was your Super Bowl, Kansas City over Philly. And it was set the day Len Dawson died, synced with the Super Bowl 172 days later. And again, if you're new here, the Jesuits, one of their mottos, ad merum de gloriam, 172, special number. The Hunter Biden thing just went to a new level, 172 days from his birthday. And that was right after the story of him driving 172 miles per hour. And this number is on things that are iconic, like those Chicago Bulls who wear red, black, and white like the Jesuits. The greatest player of all time, the GOAT, born on 17/2. A lot of rituals with this number is the point I'm making. Sports, politics, you learn to read the numerical language. You see the repetitive patterns. But again, let's come back to 138, where we were. On the 138th day of the baseball season, Atlanta with about the most symbolic, and we haven't even gotten to how symbolic it is really yet. I'm going to show you just how perfect this was, what happened with Atlanta and New York, combining for 14 runs on the 14th. For the 41 count indictment, as Max Fried becomes 4-1 for the year, and the Braves stay on 41 all-time losses. As we'll get to, Braves has Gematria 41. You probably saw that was a big part of the thing. 41 charges. Yeah, again, blow your mind. The Yankees stayed on 41 wins versus Atlanta all-time in those teams' history. But 138, let's just get through the 138. Donald Trump, 138. Once upon a time, like we said, the Nationals with the big ritual won the World Series 138 days after Trump's birthday. And again, Dave Martinez, who's the manager of the Nationals, his name's also 138. DC's the federal city, federal's 138. So all that list is 138. Donald Trump, Nationals, Dave Martinez, federal. On 13/8, what was front and center is the charges coming out of Coffee County, which is 138 in Georgia. And now it's Fulton County. Fulton County 138 on the 138th day of the MLB season does this to Donald Trump. And you guys, again, this is the book that I wrote in 2017, except for what I tacked on after the Parkland shooting, because I was still trying to get it published at the time. But anyway, this massive book, there's so much of this book is about Trump and 138 and a whole bunch of other patterns that I talk about all the time. And this is written years ago. This book is those chapters were written 6 years ago, more than 6 years ago now. And nothing's changed. It's just the same stuff over and over. And we've been talking about the same thing since then. Like the Nationals World Series came after that. And again, that was a very profitable World Series from having this knowledge. People were able to turn small bills into thousands of dollars on a big future that we saw coming from a mile away from following the storylines all year. Why it made sense for Nationals and Astros in light of what we documented in the season after George Herbert Walker Bush's death. Anyway, and again, the last time you saw that Bush, 113, 113th World Series, Astros beat the Dodgers right after the Harvey flooding when Matt Harvey was the first visiting pitcher in Houston. Right after Harvey, and while Houston was underwater, LA was burning up. It was all synced with the weather code that we talk about. Just things that a lot of people just say you get to a certain point and it's like, okay, you're taking them too far. They're having enough trouble with just how this can be orchestrated on the 138th day of the season when it's really not that hard. It's really not that hard. If you're new here, Gematria, there are 4 base ciphers. The 2 we've been looking at, the alphabetic order forwards and backwards, and the alphabetic order with numerology. Again, I want you to see that Braves is 41. Braves is 41. I want you to see that Yankees is 26. The record right now after this very symbolic game between Atlanta and New York, and again, that's Trump's team from New York. He's a Yankees fan. The record between the Braves and Yankees right now in all their games played, regular season and postseason, is 41-26. And like I said, well, hold on. This doesn't show the let me go to ESPN's page real quick. Yesterday was a beautiful day in the MLB, by the way. The date numerology. Some days are just smoking in the MLB. They'll just follow a date numerology path. About the only game that was upsetting was the Marlins Astros yesterday. And it's funny they won 5-1. Houston Astros is 51. But it was a great day in terms of taking advantage of the rig code. And in this game also, other things I wanted you to see. The Yankees have a chance to fall to 60-60. I see why they stayed on 60 wins in this game. We've been talking a lot about 60. It's the upcoming 60th presidential election, and this is a huge storyline for the election, right? The Republican frontrunner who could be a criminal. And what you have to understand is, like, if you live in a city like Seattle, a lot of the information that people get about politics and why a city like Seattle continues to vote dark blue is a lot of the information that's constantly coming into the news cycle, maybe a lot more so than, say, a city in Texas or somewhere else. A lot of the information is just about another Republican, corruption, financial fraud, dropping out. And you'll notice, like, if you watch CNN, like if something weird happens with the congressman, sometimes they'll talk about it, sometimes they'll keep it real vague. But like maybe in a Seattle, if there's any corruption, that's really getting in the news. So you're hearing a lot about Republicans and how corrupt they are and all their schemes. You know, it's like, again, you got to keep cities dark blue in America. But anyway, 60 liberal cities. Let's just follow a pattern we've been talking about with the upcoming 60th presidential election. And the possibility is even there for them to fall to 60-60 now against Atlanta. And you got to love that Atlanta had 15 hits, you guys. Again, this is the reason we call Atlanta the 15 city, because Atlanta equals 15, and they're always doing rituals with Atlanta and 15. And notice when you run it in reverse, it equals 120, and 120 is the 15th triangular number. And Atlanta also has an overlap with Donald Trump for, again, this to be so symbolic. Donald Trump equals 48, also like Atlanta. The 138 we talked about, the 159 we talked about, the upcoming 60th election. Look at this. Look at this. Donald Trump, when the news broke of the potential 4th indictment, this became the story the evening of August 12th. That was the Cotton Eye Joe ritual in the tennis match. If you heard about that, all by the numbers. The name of the woman who won that match, her name equals 128, and Cotton Eye Joe came out on that day in history in 1994, the year that tennis player was born who won, whose name equals 128. And it was the 29th anniversary, and the name of the band equals 29. I'm sure you guys saw the Cotton Eye Joe start blasting at the Canadian Women's Open tournament just in the middle of a match, in the middle of a rally. And so the ref had to stop it, and she even blurted out the name of the song. She goes, "Oh, that's Cotton Eye Joe." But anyway, again, you guys, that's why I'm saying learn this code and see just how big of a joke it is, what's being done to society. And I'm not blaming the players on the tennis court, but I'm blaming the people who really control the Canadian Open and continue to perform these rituals and have these things orchestrated, coinciding with the sports. But look at this. Donald Trump, it was his 60th day of his age, August 12th, that the story began about how the likely fourth indictment was coming. And again, when you spell out 4, it equals 60, like Donald Trump. And I'm going to talk more about the relationship with 4 and 60, because if you're new here, I was just, before this happened, like a couple days before this happened, I did in my live stream talking about my latest book that I'm finishing up, how I realized there was something much deeper about the numbers 4 and 60 when looking deeper into the depths of Moses Malone and Kobe Bryant, 4 years apart, in light of Exodus 4 about Moses and the snake when Kobe was the Black Mamba, and Kobe being 4 when Moses Malone won the championship for Philly in the year Kobe's father retired from the NBA, and Bear Bryant died on the anniversary of Kobe. Anyway, I started to realize there was something real massive with 4 and 60. Moses Malone died at 60. He was drafted out of high school by Utah. Kobe finishes his career with 60 against Utah. Daryl Dawkins also died right before Kobe's retirement season. Daryl Dawkins equals 60. Moses Malone was drafted by the ABA. Daryl Dawkins was drafted by the NBA, the first 2 players out of high school. And Daryl Dawkins was drafted by Philly, Kobe's hometown. But I started to realize there was something massive with 4 and 60. So I was sharing that in a stream, how I'd been overlooking how powerful that relationship was. And then 2 days later, the story becomes that the 4th state's going to do the 4th indictment against Donald Trump in an election where we've been talking all about 60. Again, you guys, the Jesuits. I'm talking about the same stuff every day on this channel, and I don't know why people think it's a coincidence. I don't know if it's like they can't handle the energy level I'm speaking at, or they just can't connect, or their processing's too slow. But I'm talking about the same shit every day and proving my points. Here we are on the Jesuit Order's birthday, the anniversary of Trump's brother's death, and a clear ritual. And we've been talking about how his ex-wife, who he was married to in 1977, how she died in 2022, 45 years later, like he goes down as number 45. The Jesuit acronym IHS 45, Berlin Wall 45, called as the 45th president-elect on the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. And just forwards and backwards, you guys, it was the 27-year anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall when Trump was called president-elect. I just want you to see how Berlin Wall's 45 and 63. 2016, the year that happens, the 63rd triangular number, if you had 1 through 63, is 2016. But ritual, again, it was the 27-year anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, which equals 45. Ritual 45 and 27. All these obvious rituals, these same repetitive patterns. November 3rd, the 27-year anniversary of Kobe debuting in the NBA. This coming season, November 3rd, it's going to be the 27th anniversary, and it's going to be 45 months since Kobe died. And again, we just know how fateful these numbers are time and time again as well with these rituals. And why did Kobe debut in the NBA on November 3rd, 113? Like how last night the Braves beat the Yankees 11-3 to go with the election that this is all about, with the indictment in the same city. The election that was on 11-3. And that federal city is the home of the Scottish, right? Again, where Scottish is 113. But notice, you guys, Kobe Bryant made his debut in the NBA on November 3rd, 113. For the record, Michael Jordan's also 113. Just put out that movie, Air, about how Nike made so much money off Jordan on the 95th day of the year, reminding about how his father was killed by the numbers at the intersection of Route 95 and Route 74. Moses Malone drafted in 74, Kobe dead in the 74th NBA season. But Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan both 113, like the National Basketball Association. That's the 30th prime number. The 30-year return to Saturn begins in the 27th year of a person's life. So that's why the return to Saturn goes from the numbers 27 to 30. It's interesting because Bible equals 30, and there's 27 books in the New Testament. But anyway, not to get too tangential, all these numbers, Kobe Bryant, debut on November 3rd. in the 113 league, the NBA, that's always doing 113 rituals. Kobe Bryant, dead age 41, while traveling from Catholic Mass, dead on the Pope's 41st day of his age. The Pope was 83. Helicopter crash equals 83, like murder. 1983, Bear Bryant died on the same day as Kobe Bryant. Moses Malone won the NBA Finals while Kobe was still 4 in a sweep of the Lakers 4-0. All these fours. Jordan won his 4th championship the year Kobe came in the league, 96. Again, LeBron won his 4th championship the year Kobe died, after dropping Kobe to 4th in points scored in Philly, in Kobe's hometown, biblically named Philadelphia. Moses, the book of Moses, the 5 books of Moses, which are the Torah. The 4th one is titled Numbers. Exodus 4 about Moses, Malone, and the snake. Anyway, Kobe Bryant, dead at 41. Kobe Bryant also dead on his 157th day of his age, while LaSalle's 157 years old, where his dad went to school. And his dad was drafted by Golden State, which equals 41. 41 years before Kobe retired. And remember, ESPN1 had the Kobe retirement game where he scored 60, and the Warriors passing Jordan's win record, going on ESPN1 and ESPN2, the last 2 games of the NBA season at the same time. Golden State, Kobe, 41 years again since his dad was drafted by Golden State. Just so you can see it, Golden State in the same site for 41 as Kobe Bryant. You might have noticed they're both 41 and 58 backwards, just like Moses Malone, 41 and 58. Exodus 4:1 is the first verse of Exodus 4, about the story of God, or Moses doubting God. So he turns his staff into a snake. Kobe the Black Mamba. Black snakes on the Philadelphia artwork for their NBA court. LeBron goes over the snake to pass Kobe with the 54th points of the game. The week before Super Bowl 54, when Kobe beat Bryant's 54 and reverses to 81, like his career high 81 in his 666 game. But anyway, Mark of the Beast also got that. Philadelphia with the biblical connections. Trump, the numbers. Kobe with the 666 workout. Again, the record in the 666 game. He crashed to the sky in the city of angels when Satan in the Bible is a fallen angel. An angel is fallen came out on his last birthday, August 23rd, 2019, plus all the other predictive programming. Again, there's a lot to it, but I'm being a little tangential to just wrap it back into how all these numbers come together, and how you can see that the same people are running all this shit, and people need to wake up. The same people. Just think about it. Think about it from you want to run the world point of view. What have you learned from being part of these orders that have held all these secrets going back to the ancient empires that go all the way back to Africa? And you wonder why they're always fucking with black people, using the knowledge that goes all the way back to there and possibly beyond. But definitely back to there. And, you know, I don't want to get into it. But anyway, these people have learned, okay, it's easier to manipulate people than fight them all the time physically. Look at all the mental manipulation. Look at all the little tricks. And just look how many people know nothing about nothing, because their whole life's been all about entertainment. There's guys in this world who could help tear down the power structure that's playing with us every day, but they don't know about that, not because they're bad people, but because their whole life's just been about knowing about the ball game and the box score, and, you know, season after season cheering for the favorite team and going out and doing their job and paying their taxes and just, you know, being hot dog eating, flag waving Americans, which they thought was good because that's what they learned. That's what they were brought up in, the system that has the distractions and controls the education and what you learn about. And who discovered America? I mean, it was the white guy paid for by the Catholic Church, Christopher Columbus, of course. The people who are already here, you know, they were just savages without Bibles, and it was manifest destiny, so they don't really matter because they didn't even know how to write anyway. Meanwhile, they're teaching us still to this day. It's just, again, I think I'm making my point enough, but let's keep going down the line here with the ritual of why we are here on the Jesuit order's birthday, August 15th. Remember when Afghanistan's government collapsed by the numbers after the... Here, you guys, just follow the thinking of this. September 11th was blamed on Muslims, okay? And the sitting president was George W. Bush, the son of the last Republican president, George H.W. Bush. And I guess just for the sake of numbers, again, Bush, the second one, was number 43. His father, who was president, was the 43rd vice president. His brother was the 43rd governor of Florida. Florida equals 43, like Yale, where Skull and Bones is, where the two presidents were members of that secret society. But Yale all those 43s. Again, just how long these number rituals have been going on. It's been number rituals the whole time. For all of the 21st century and a lot longer than that, it's been this, you guys. If you were aware of this, you would know definitively because it just keeps going on. Look at what they did on number 43's birthday. Go look at what happened in the Rangers and Astros games on number 43's birthday. You'll see the 43s in the box score. It'll scream out at you. And go back and look at Herbert Walker Bush's birthday, number 41, where Skull and Bones is 41. Look at the 41s in the games pertaining to Texas on number 41's birthday. You'll see it. It's undeniable. And this stuff goes on year after year. So again, I'm really trying to pound home the point of this stuff being scripted and all connected and being done by the same people, which goes back to the obvious source, the Jesuits, which is why we're right here on the Jesuit order's birthday on August 15th. I don't call any other city in America the 15 city, for the record. People who follow me on sports know that. The only city I call the 15 city is Atlanta, right? And I always explain that Atlanta is on the 84th meridian west, as well as the 33rd parallel. But Jesuit is 84. If you write out the Jesuit order, it's also 84. If you write out the Catholic Church who they serve, it's 84. Matt Ryan, the quarterback that recently got to the Super Bowl, only to drop the 25-point lead on 2/5 in the 97th season, the 25th prime. Jesuit Matt Ryan in the red, white, and black, the Jesuit colors, losing to Brady, who was born 201 years after this nation in the Illuminati. And the Illuminati was founded by the Jesuit Adam Weishaupt, and that's the Illuminati's number is 201, which is why the first Jesuit Pope is the first to live in Suite 201 at the Vatican. It's really a biblical number, but we'll bring the 201 piece in here as well, because again, we'll look more carefully at that Washington Nationals logo. But yeah, August 15th, back to 2020. His brother, Robert Trump, dead at 71. Big Catholic number. 71's the 20th prime number. This happened in 2020. Jesuit order's birthday. We'd been talking about all the Jesuit rituals with Trump who went to Fordham. That was the year of coronavirus. And Trump waited to declare the pandemic for the nation till Friday, March 13th. I didn't even finish making the point, you guys, but it brings it back up. The superstition of March 13th, or Friday the 13th, excuse me. It was actually October 13th, 1307 when it happened, where the superstition of Friday the 13th goes back to. It goes back to the King of France burning the Knights Templar at the stake, and their leader, Jacques de Molay, which is now a secret society for Freemasonry for kids. Most famous members, Walt Disney. But, and that's why Disney's and all these rituals by the numbers like we're always talking about. It's all the same. But the Knights Templar were eventually replaced in history by the Jesuits, who were created in Paris, France, where the Templars were burned. And so there's the Templars are the old military order of the Catholic Church. The Jesuits are the current. Skull and Bones gets their symbolism from how the Templars buried their dead in an ossuary, a shallow grave where their bodies would decompose. And once the bodies decomposed, they put the bones in a certain order in this burial box, where the last ones are the biggest bones in the body, and then the skull. And Bush, who was a member of Skull and Bones, when 9/11 happened, that was blamed on Muslims, he referred to our attack in the Middle East as a crusade, and the Templars did the crusades. And again, we invaded Afghanistan on October 7th, which is the day leaving 85 days left in the air. Templars 85, militaries 107, 10/7, it's Putin's birthday, another Jesuit puppet. And again, the Jesuit logo is a sun with the letters IHS for Jesus Hominum Salvator. And the Templar cross is right there behind the letters. If you flip it upside down, it almost looks like it says shit, because it's IHS with the cross. But Jesus Hominum Salvator, 85. And notice it's also 266, like the first Jesuit Pope's the 266th. The Jesuit Pope's name is Pope Francis, which equals 122. Again, San Francisco equals 122 and is on the 122nd meridian. And it's named after St. Francis of Assisi, just like Pope Francis. And St. Francis of Assisi created the Franciscans, which were the precursor to the Jesuits between the Templars. And also, Pope Francis sounds like France, where the Jesuits are from. But also the 274, like how their logo's the sun, and the Catholic Church has celebrated the sun's birthday on Christmas Day since 274 AD. And then they started celebrating Jesus' birthday on the same day 46 years later in the year 320. Notice how Roman Catholic Church is 320. They've been celebrating Jesus' birthday on 1225 since 320 AD, which was 46 years after celebrating the Son. And again, Catholic, 46, right? JFK killed at 46. Joe Biden, the 46th president, elected 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, after his son's death. Beau Biden at age 46, who was Joe Jr. Trump born in 46, like the last Bush, like Clinton. Something's going on with former Arkansas football players dying along with former Ravens. Two of them have been Arkansas players. And the latest one comes right before Clinton's birthday. He's about to turn 77. So you're going to have Bush, Trump, and Clinton all 77. I find that interesting because, again, Washington, D.C. is on the 77th meridian, and United States equals 77. And we all know what happened on 9/11. Remember when Clinton took office, you had the 93 World Trade Center bombing, and then when Bush replaced him, you had 9/11 with the World Trade Centers, just like what got bombed when Clinton took office. And again, Clinton went to Yale and very well was in Skull and Bones, just like the two Bushes around him. Because that's the thing about Skull and Bones. You have the option of letting it be known. If you remember, both the Bushes chose to let it be publicly known. Was Clinton in Skull and Bones as well? I mean, if I had to assume, I'd assume, yeah, he probably was. Probably was. But remember, on 9/11, the story is the Flight 77 hit the Pentagon. Pentagon construction began September 11th, 1941, right before Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 127, like how buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell in New York, where they called it the New Pearl Harbor. You see how the United States is 77? So is World Trade Center. So is September 11th. September 11th is also 77. But again, DC on the 77th meridian on 9/11. Flight 77 hits the Pentagon on its establishment anniversary, essentially, construction anniversary, construction start. But Flight 77 hits the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after taking off. That's per the 9/11 Commission report. They put the takeoff time and the crash time. It's 77 minutes later. And again, 77th meridian, and might have forgot another 77. But I mean, just think about all that. So I'm just making the point of, Clinton, Bush, and I think it's tomorrow. Let me think. I think Clinton's birthday is tomorrow, or is it the 19th? It's the 19th. So it's in 4 days. Clinton will turn 77 in 4 days. And again, George W. Bush is born July 6th. George W. Bush is 7'6". July 6th, 46. Here, that's better. July 6th, 1946. That's easier to see. And Trump's birthday is the flag's birthday, June 14th. And remember, on the assassination day, the day leaving 144 days left in the year, the number connected all these U.S. assassinations, you had the assassination in Ecuador, which was established 46 years after America. And again, if you guys didn't watch my videos before that Ecuadorian assassination news, all day I talked about the history of political assassinations in 144 in the Jesuit order and what's being foretold through this ongoing Confederate story. I guess just to make the point, see how Jesuit order is 144? See how the United States of America is 144, biblical number. See how President Biden, who's Jesuit educated from the Jesuit town of Scranton, Pennsylvania, is 144. Again, at Jesuit Georgetown, look it up. It's all facts. June 12th, 2020, there was something called the Transition Integrity Project, and it was about the upcoming election on November 3rd, which was 144 days later. And in the simulation, Georgetown, the Jesuits simulated the election, and what they determined is that Biden would narrowly win. Trump would say he was cheated and refuse to step down, and it would lead to deadly violence in America. So you have January 6th, exactly as you predicted it, and for being right and finally having a video get over 100,000 views. I guess that was the last time I got over 100,000 views. I'd been saying it was the Kobe thing. It was actually predicting January 6th dead on. But then the videos were taken down for medical misinformation, even though they didn't have anything to do with medicine, but about how they were recreating the Civil War and the divide, and a civil war that Lincoln blamed on the Jesuit order. Look it up. It is facts. People don't even know this because they don't teach it to us in slave school, because slave school, our curriculum is designed by the things that run this nation, the corruption, the corporations, the bureaucrats, all the people that want to keep us ignorant. I've never seen the street sweeper come through here before. I live in a small town. Must be the annual street sweeping day. We don't need it though. But it's loud. Machinery is loud. Did you ever think about like how much more serene the world was before machinery? We didn't have all the convenience. We had to actually go out and work and live. You know, you had to use your body. They just made life so convenient. And now nobody wants to really do anything. The most they want to do is like believe in a man who's extra orange, who talks a little bit different, but comes from the same Jesuit cabal. But anyway, that simulation was 144 days before the election. Funny enough, the 2024 election will be 144 days after Trump's June 14th birthday. And just so you can see this with your own eyes, again, Trump's birthday is June 14th, the flags. That's why they did the big ritual with him the year of Super Bowl 52, where he took on the NFL over the flag protest on 23/9 when the flag was shown at 239 Arch Street. In Philadelphia, who won the Super Bowl that year over the team with the flag on their helmet, the Patriots. In Minnesota, where Minnesota equals 52, and they hosted the Super Bowl 52, and 239 is the 52nd prime. And again, Trump took office while the flag was 239 years old, and the Kaepernick protest started it all on the 239th day of the year in San Francisco, which has history with Philadelphia through sports teams like the Warriors and Athletics, who went from Philly to the Bay Area, and also through things like the Liberty Bell being kept in Philadelphia. There's something about, you guys, I get the joke now because that started happening after the capital went from Philadelphia to D.C., the Jesuit stronghold, and then the Liberty Bell gets taken to San Francisco, named after St. Francis of Assisi, who created the precursor to the Jesuits. This was always symbolism from the beginning of this nation and mockery. Here's who controls your liberty. The Franciscans, who are now the Jesuits, and it's our stronghold where your capital moved to. Well, we got your Liberty Bell, not where it belongs. Keep sending your young ones up, signing them up for our military, and keep paying your taxes. Thank you very much. You're the freest people there ever was. Of course, you learned that for 13 years, K-12, pledging to the 13 stripes. And one number ritual after the next. But June 4, 2024 to November 5th, 2024, that's the day of the 2024 election, a Tuesday, 144 days. And remember, Trump was dressed for a funeral in 2017 at the Vatican, posed next to the Jesuit Pope on the 144th day of the year. And Bob Dylan recently put out that song, Who's Born on the 144th Day of the Year, about the assassination of JFK by the numbers. And remember, JFK was killed in 63. The Ecuadorian president who was just killed in the clear, obvious ritual, JFK was 46. Ecuador established 46 years after America. That Ecuadorian president or presidential candidate was born in 63 and died 63 days before his birthday, like how the dead Kennedys drummer recently died at age 63. And again, RFK Jr. just got in the race. He filed his paperwork to run on April 5th, the 95th day of the year, like those Jesuits. A date that can be written 4-5 or 5-4. IHS and Ritual 45, 5/4, like Dealey Plaza and Ambassador Hotel, where JFK and his father were assassinated. But again, JFK met with the Pope on July 2nd, 7-2, and he died a span of 144 days later. And again, the Catholic Church is a sun cult. 144 relates to time. The square root is 12. The number we use to measure time, mornings, 12-hour segments, 12 months in the year, 1,440 minutes in the day. In Jewish gematria, time equals 144. The Jesuit order is a sun cult. The word sun is 54. The sun moves 1 degree every 72 years on the astrological wheel. And I know where 153 fits in with the Holy Bible and the Illuminati and a million rituals. I don't exactly know where that number fits in necessarily with time, unless it's something as simple as this. 153 is the 17th triangular number. You see how God equals 17? Just like Moses is 17. Daryl Dawkins and Moses Malone died 17 years apart. The first players out of the NBA or drafted out of high school into pro basketball, which eventually the NBA took over both leagues. But the NBA, we call it the 17 League. Like LeBron came over from the 17th state on 1/7 and then won the Lakers their 17th championship in his 17th state. And the Celtics were the first to 17 championships. And then Joe Biden announced he was running for president. And number 17 of the Celtics, John Havlicek, died on that day when Joe Biden's Secret Service name is Celtic. And Havlicek died 17 days after his birthday. And this same stuff keeps happening. We keep talking about the same numbers. God killing. God demands sacrifice. God does kill. God rains fire from the sky for Sodom and Gomorrah. Obama, the most, forward with the gay rights in America. And then 4 days after number 44's birthday, when both numbers are associated with death, this deadly thing in Maui. You see how kill is like Maui in every cipher? It's the exact same in every cipher, kill in Maui. I mean, that can only happen if a word is the same number of letters, but the letters still have to add up to the same thing in every cipher, which is not all that common. Remember, Maui, this happens to them in August of 2023, just days, 13 days in the land of 13 stripes, 13 days before their anniversary of becoming a U.S. state, which is August 21st. And they're going to turn 64 years old as a state, Hawaii, the day that Maui burns up. And again, if you missed my work on Maui, in 1964, there was a significant hurricane called Hurricane Dora, which Hurricane Dora fueled the flames. Notice where Dora and fire overlap. Notice how they overlap. Dora and fire in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. The one where it's different, where fire is 29. This comes exactly 29 months after the March 8th flooding, the drastic flooding of Maui. They said the worst in 25 years, where fire and Dora are 25, and so is flood. But again, just all these things are related, and just like the same numbers, the same patterns. I just found out something mind blowing about The Rock, the actor Dwayne Johnson, who's also in the movie San Andreas about the huge earthquake. He played Maui, the fire god, in a Disney film Moana, and if I'm saying that right. But again, Maui in Polynesian culture is the fire and earthquake god, and pertains to some other things too, but fires and earthquakes. And I was like, wow, he did that big earthquake movie. And sorry, we're getting tangential, but again, for people who can follow, this all needs to be followed, because I'm showing how the same cabal is really fucking with this world in ways that are more serious than others. Playing with our heads in election, that it's really fucked up, and doing it year after year and lying to us and telling us we're free and we're having a say in this. It's really fucked up. Just like the fans think they're having a say in the outcomes. They go to the games, they cheer hard enough, it's going to help motivate their players. We are being fucked with on so many levels. But again, those things don't even reach the level of using military technology to wipe out a town for an agenda, whether it's Agenda 21 or 2030, or stealing real estate for a future development and mega money thing. And again, look at this. Directed energy weapon. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a real thing. Do you remember it was in the time of the Obama administration? It was probably in the middle, around re-election time. You know how the media will go in cycles of stories, and all of a sudden there'll be a focus on a thing. Like for a while it was, oh my God, flying objects all over the place, Chinese balloons everywhere, oh my God. And you can just see how it works. It's like, okay, the psychological effects wearing off. Oh my God, look at this news story. The balloon thing, we love balloons from the time we're children. We never really have to grow up in the land of convenience. The Chinese balloon thing, I mean, they took that story quite a ways. And remember what we showed you about it, just what a load of total shit it was, and how easy it was to see why it started over Montana, the 41st state, synced up with the Super Bowl, with the Chiefs again, one of Montana's teams. You guys remember the Joe Montana Bowl in Super Bowl 54, right? Joe Montana, 54, his Chiefs beat his Niners. He wore 19 with the Chiefs. They win the 2019 season. Wore 16 with the Niners, named after the Gold Rush, won Super Bowl 16 with them, Gold 16. The golden anniversary of the Super Bowl 50, on the 38th day of the year, won by the 38th state, Colorado. Anyway, again, all this stuff, you guys, so many examples. I've been talking forever and going on all kinds of tangents, and I've hardly hit any of them. But just the same stuff, the same code, the same rigging, playing with our heads. And if I didn't get to the punchline that I was trying to say, again, all of this stuff is super fucked up and deserves to be stopped cold in its tracks. But military technology to wipe out a town, and we don't really know how bad it is. And doesn't this media just make you sick? How they release these little death counts with these small numbers that slowly climb into small numbers. And watch, if they ever do give us the death toll in Maui and it's real bad, they'll probably hit it with us in a day, and they'll just pass it real quick, the whole bunch of other news, and you'll be like, man, they made it feel like it was around 100 people, and then it ended up being that many thousands. Well, why didn't we hear any real reporting up until that time? And then you just have all the people all online, well, we couldn't get any real numbers because it was so hard to get in there. And they had, if you guys are paying attention with the news, they have all the excuses for why it's coming in. So they only have a small number of people working the whole area of Maui where this happened. I mean, I've seen missing blonde girls in the news, and they showed that like 150 people were out there looking for the missing blonde girl. So one missing blonde girl in the news in terms of a required search party is like 5 times as worthy as an entire town of Maui. There must have been some blonde girls in there. Again, but you just, that's why if you just pay attention to news and what's going on just every day, it's such a joke. It's such a joke. And it's just this when you understand this numerical language, you're talking about the same stuff over and over, just the same patterns over and over. Oh, there it is in politics again. Oh, there it is in a mass shooting again. Oh, there it is in another sports ritual. You know? The new indictment returned to Monday by the Fulton County grand jury accuses Trump of 13 crimes. And again, I just want to come back to yesterday's game. Max Fried, the starter for the Braves, became 4-1. And let me pull up StatMuse here so you can see this. Yankees all-time record versus Braves, including postseason. Look at this. Oh, I wrote braces instead of Braves. It's like, what? Okay, there it is. Like I said earlier, this is exactly as I said the record. I just want to get up on the screen. 41-26. And again, this indictment. There are 19 defendants named in the 41 count indictment. It's just like, oh my, it's just so obvious how it's synced up with the baseball season again. And it just, again, the point is we're talking about the same stuff every year. Braves in 41. Yankees stay on 41 wins. Donald Trump's team, the New York Yankees. Let's go back and see what day the Alvin Bragg New York indictment was. Because remember, it went New York, it went Miami, right? Miami during the NBA Finals. And what was the latest one just before Georgia? I'm spacing what the latest one just was before Georgia. But it started with New York. So I'm just thinking about that too. You guys, I got to come back to something. The Uvalde school shooting in Texas, okay? That was on May 24th, the 144th day of the year. And then Joe Biden was down there on JFK's birthday. Again, JFK, who died 144 days from his meeting with the Pope. He was down there on JFK's birthday to talk about gun control and gun violence in Texas, okay? And again, just all these 144s. RFK dead at 144 in the morning. If I forgot to say RFK Jr., the day that he officially filed that April 5th day, that was 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. The leader of the Jesuit order, Arturo Sosa, 144 days after his November 12th birthday. Again, JFK, RFK, Lincoln shot on 14/4, blamed the war on the Jesuits. RFK had to get in the race, really, 144 days from the Jesuit leader's birthday. The simulation at Jesuit Georgetown, the election being 144 days after Trump's birthday. Plus, it's on Remember the 5th of November, very special day to the Jesuit order. That's Guy Fawkes Day, the day they tried to blow up British Parliament. They tried to overthrow government, you guys. The United Kingdom, the United States, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. What did Bill Maher, the little Jesuit scum, say? He said January 6th was a preview of the next 9/11. He said the January 6th was the 93 World Trade Center bombing, which was significant but small compared to 9/11. So he said the next January 6th, which is coming, which will probably happen in the next election. He predicted all this right after January 6th. He said it's going to be 9/11. Exploding buildings. That's what was supposed to happen to Parliament with the Jesuits who tried to blow it up with fireworks. Fireworks. What do we shoot off on this nation's birthday and this nation that was hijacked by Jesuits from the beginning? It wasn't all Jesuits, but there were enough Jesuits here to steer the ship from the beginning. It's so obvious if you just follow the trail. Like why there were 56 signers on the Declaration. Another, again, Pope 56, like Society of Jesus, who served the Pope. That's the formal title of the Jesuits. It's the same thing. Yeah, again, just And after the New York Alvin Bragg indictment, they said 60% of Americans approved, and we were just laughing at what a joke that was in light of the 60th election and his wife dying 60 weeks into the Jesuit Ignatian year and getting buried in the big Jesuit ritual. But again, look at the name, Alvin Bragg. 60, right? It's also 177 like the Jesuit order. 48 and 60, just like Donald Trump in the same ciphers, 48 and 60. Look at indictment, 48 and 60, also 159 like Donald Trump. Again, Donald Trump, the 44th person to be U.S. president because Grover Cleveland had a split term, like Trump's 2016 convention was in Cleveland. And by the way, Trump is going to be 78 at the time of the next election. He'll be 78 years old. Cleveland, 78. A lot of parallels between Trump and Cleveland. Overweight, brides from the Far East, European brides. And Cleveland's also got that 48 like Donald Trump. Cleveland's also 165 like Trump's born on the 165th day of the year of Scottish ancestry when Scottish writes 165. And again, Scottish is 113 and lost the ritual. Look how the two elections Trump was in, 58 and 59, right? Freemasonry, 59. Let's not forget that Pope Francis is 58 and 59. And the 59th presidential election that Biden won, notice how John F. Kennedy is also 59. Again, the 59th election, Biden became number 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday. Beau Biden's death was synced with the Pope at age 46. But John F. Kennedy died at 46, also with the 59 connection. When Bob Dylan did the song about the JFK assassination recently in the time Biden was running for office, it was all about 59 and 17, as we talked about. So, but yeah, just Masonic rituals. DC's the Jesuit Masonic city. Modern Freemasonry is a Jesuit creation. It's where all this stuff fits together. Over in the UK, Freemasonry 158, like Boris Johnson. Freemasonry's for men. The man replaced the woman, Theresa May, exactly 158 weeks after she took office. The Prime Minister in the UK, 10 Downing Street, what's stained in the glass above the door is the top half of the Jesuit Order's logo. Look at it. The Jesuit logo is literally above the door at 10 Downing Street. DC's literally in the Jesuit stronghold. This stuff is literally in our face. Everything. The language, which is credited back to a Catholic monk. The calendar, which is credited to a Catholic pope. Both things synced up at the end of the 16th century, the century the Jesuits were created in. Born August 15th, 1534 in Paris, France. Recognized by the Roman Catholic Church September 27th, 1540, the day leaving 95 days left in the year with the mission of countering the 95 Theses. But and you know what else? Now that I look at the Yankees record too, which is Trump, right? He lost the 59th election. This is about the 60th election. His team falls to 60 and 59 also on this day. We talked about the significance of staying on 60, but now it's dawning on me the 59. Because again, the 59th election was on November 3rd. And you know what else? Let's not overlook that this was the 119th game of the season for the Yankees. 119th game of the season. We're talking about New York, right? Donald Trump was a part of the 11/9 day, introducing some conspiratorial ideas about what happened there. But it's the 119th World Series upcoming. And let me see. How many posts do I have to scan through before I find a picture of Trump with the sheep 11-9? Old posts is talking about all the same stuff. We'll go through some of these older posts. I mean, what we're looking at here is 2019. We'll go back and look at the GOP shooting, where that all fit in with Steve Scalise at the baseball game. Again, just see what a circus that people are so invested in, believing the lies, bowing down to the flag. You guys know that's the Rage Against the Machine. The Zach of that band. He says that, believing the lies, bowing down to the flag. Now there's a bullet in your head. Sometimes I think, is that song predictive programming? When the next big catastrophe really lands on our head, like the Jesuit instigated world wars or many other wars, 9/11. But hold on, where's my Donald Trump Serta mattress? It's always there. It is Donald Trump. Okay, you guys, this is before Donald Trump became president-elect, and it was called for him on November 9th. Watch the Serta counting sheep commercial with Donald Trump from years before that election. He's wearing the same suit and tie. He's standing, straight up, kind of like you would for an inauguration. Listen to his dialogue about being born for the job and then how they'll never count sheep again. And again, a lot of references in history about like how sheep vote in elections because they should see that it doesn't matter. These are rituals predetermined that are meant to keep us invested in a system through hating one side more than the other. And again, we're the people who rule over us. They're clever people. They know how to influence people, steer behavior, and keep them right where they want. They know how to. They've mastered the game of controlling humanity. And again, they didn't do it overnight. The stuff that the Jesuits are using is the stuff the Templars brought back from the Holy Lands that goes way back. These are tactics that go back to Babylon. Yeah, we'll have to. I'll go back and see everything I wrote in these posts, but it is just something else. Okay, so quick summary, less tangential. Donald Trump indicted in Georgia on his 62nd day of his age. Georgia 62, right? If you use numerology, Georgia's 44. Fourth indictment, fourth state. He was the 44th person to be a president, who again replaced Obama, number 44. Remember, Obama's number 44, and it seems to point back to Malcolm X and MLK, because Malcolm X was killed on 44 date numerology. MLK was killed on 4-4. He was from Atlanta, where this fourth indictment comes from. I got to remember to go back also and measure from the Alvin Bragg thing. I know there's going to be something there. His indictment to this one. But okay, it was the 138th day of the MLB season. And again, when the Nationals won the World Series, it was 138 days after Trump's birthday. It was the 115th World Series. Trump took office at the 115th Congress. Donald Trump, Nationals, and their manager, Dave Martinez, all equal 138. So now here we are on the 138th day of the baseball season. And I know if we go back and look, there's been other stuff we've been talking about with politics and baseball, and Jimmy Carter took a black eye and a baseball ritual not too many years back that was synced up with the Braves season. And he's getting up there, Jimmy Carter. His time got to be near. I wonder if he'll make it to September 99, Jimmy Carter. Just the United States of America was named on 99. Some symbolic number. We'll see what they do with Jimmy. But anyway, 138th day of the season, Fulton County 138, like Donald Trump 138, the indictment from Fulton County against Donald Trump on the 138th day of the baseball season pertaining to the 2020 election that was on November 3rd, as again, the Braves beat the Yankees, Atlanta Braves, where the indictment's coming from, Trump's team, 11-3 like the date of the election, 14 runs on the 14th. If you spell out 14 as a word, it equals 41 like Braves. Again, Braves future became 4-1. Yankees stayed on 41 all-time wins against the Braves. USA's 41. 41's the 13th prime. The other thing about the 13 in the indictment that goes with the 41. And remember, today, August 15th, the focus of August 15th, the day it's the Jesuit order's birthday, all this focus on Atlanta's thing, which happened late last night as the baseball game was ending. But now we are on August 15th, the Jesuit order's birthday, the day leaving 138 days left in the year. And we've been hearing a lot about this. The news started August 12th. We talked about why that date, but then all August 13th, we heard about Coffee County and Trump on 13/8 when Donald Trump and Coffee County are 138. I'm just reminded the Misfits, the band, popular band. If you don't know who they are, you see a lot of people wear a T-shirt with that face on it that says Misfits, popular band. But they have a song called "We Are 138," and I look at the lyrics of that song, and it just seems so relevant to the times right now. We are 138. We are 138. We are 138. That repeats in the eyes of Tiger. Do you think we're robot clean? Does this face look almost mean? Is it time to be an android, not a man? The pleasantries are gone. We're stripped of all we were in the eyes of Tiger. We are 138. I mean, just AI takeover, people speaking through emojis. I'm always trying to interpret emojis when people send it to me. I'm like, what exactly does that? I don't speak in emojis, so I don't exactly know what they're communicating to me. I'm going to assume that they're happy and everything's good. But does this face look almost mean? I could see that like with an I'd be like, what does that face mean? Okay. Um, yeah. So anyway, you got that with the times, and again, one more time, the Braves and Yankees are now 41 and 26 against each other all time. The Yankees lead the series. I suppose that's a difference of 15 wins, isn't it? 40, because the Yankees have 41 wins. They stayed on 41 as Max Fried became 4-1 when Braves is 41 to go with the 41 in the indictment. But 41 is 15 greater than 26th. And here we are on the 15th of the month. I just thought about something else. Martin Luther, 95 Theses, posting date to Castle Church. Something just dawned on me. Martin Luther was born at the end of the 15th century. And again, the day he posted the 95 Theses is Halloween Day. Remember recently with Atlanta in the World Series? Atlanta won the World Series in 95 over the Cleveland Indians. The Braves over the Indians, the native teams. And there's something to that because, again, we're living through this Jesuit history where the paid for pirate by the Catholic Church discovered the land where native people already lived. But again, and just the Jesuits in 95. And this year, the Super Bowl will be on the 95th birthday of the Vatican. And all these people are dying connected to Baltimore, which is 95, the most Catholic city in America. But again, the 95 Theses was posted on Halloween. And here's the thing about the Braves. The Braves got beat last year, or was it? It was 2 years ago. The year they won the World Series after Hank Aaron died in the big Jesuit ritual. From the 95 World Series win to the day that the Braves, I think the Braves lost on Halloween, if I remember right. But whatever it was 9,500 days also from them winning the World Series. And I think they got beat 9-5. Hold on. Let me just look up the 2022 World Series and then we'll get this right. And again, MLK from Atlanta, killed on the 95th day of the year, like Martin Luther, who wrote the 95 Theses. His sister just died at 95. That happened in an election year, and elections coming. All these same numbers: 4, number of death, 44. Joe Biden equals 44. Again, ran with number 44, Obama. Obama from Hawaii, 4 days after his birthday, devastation in Maui. He's from just okay. Oh, I'm tripping. I need the 20. Time's going too fast. The 2021 World Series when the Braves beat the Astros the year after Hank Aaron's death. Okay, the Astros did win 9-5 against the Braves on Halloween, and this was exactly 9,500 days after the Braves had won the World Series in 95. And again, we were looking at this, and then of course, Atlanta in the year Hank Aaron died, they win at 4-2. Hank Aaron played till age 42 in the MLB, like Jackie number 42, and all the other 42s in black baseball history. Jackie's 42, so was Moses Walker, who's actually the first black man in white Major League Baseball, and he played in 42 games. And, Chadwick Boseman dies on Jackie Robinson Day, really at age 42, and then they change it to age 43, which I guess sort of fit because Robinson's 43, and they'd gotten Mookie Betts, the Dodgers, the black star player, the MLB, on the 42 ritual in February, 4/2, right after Kobe's death. Kobe dies, and then LA wins a Super Bowl, NBA Finals, a World Series, all in quick time. But again, Chadwick Boseman dies on the makeshift Jackie Robinson Day for the COVID season, and then the Dodgers win the World Series 4-2 in Texas. They said the reason they celebrated Jackie Robinson Day that year on August 28th, which was also Jack Kirby's birthday, who wrote the Black Panther, when Jackie Robinson was in the tank brigade in World War II, the Black Panthers, and Chadwick Boseman played both characters, Jackie number 42 in Black Panther, and Jack and Jackie and Jack Kirby. And again, the Dodgers won the World Series that year. They had the World Series at a neutral site in Texas because of all the COVID stuff, and the Dodgers won it 4-2 on the anniversary at Jackie Robinson's funeral. Million more 42 rituals over the years. RIP to everybody. The whitewashing of history, the racist code, the new Jesus, as they give you Tupac on the cross on remember the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day, important to the Jesuits, when he died on Caesar Borgia's birthday, who white Jesus is modeled after. And again, Machiavelli, Tupac's alias Machiavelli. Machiavelli wrote The Prince, based on Caesar Borgia. And then Tupac's mom was announced dead in 2016 on the real Machiavelli's birthday, shortly after Prince's death on 4/21, when he had that hit song in 83, that fateful year. Well, at least he wrote it that year. I would die for you, with the number 4 and the letter U. Use the 21st letter. I would die 4/21. He dies on April 21st, 4/21. But yeah, for all the people who don't appreciate how we cover all these topics and connect it all, I just think it's the short bus syndrome. What we've been doing is amazing for a decade, and it's just gotten better. It was good at the beginning, but it's way better. I mean, it's at least 60 times better for the 60th election than when we first started. We know so much more. Ample evidence, so many correct predictions, documenting the same patterns, the mockery, the number code, understanding it more and more. I got to go back. We got to look at older posts on this ongoing saga, but we also got to I got to find out the day of the Alvin Bragg indictment. I forget. Date of Alvin, or maybe it's just easier to find it on my own website. Hold on. Because I've been documenting the news each day. Trump indicted New York. Let's see. Trump indicted in Georgia. Well, that's not what I want. Oh, snap. Trump was indicted on the first day of the MLB season, you guys. That's why it was the 138th day of the season. The season began March 30th. Wow. And it's the 119th World Series, and it was the Yankees' 119th game. Oh, I forgot to mention in Jewish Gematria, Donald's 119. Again, he was called president-elect on November 9th. He was number 45 then, Major League's 45. 45 is the 9th triangular number, like baseball's a game of 9. 9 innings in the complete game, plus all the other 9s that can happen. 9 men on the field. Here, March 30th, 2023, that's the day this MLB season began. The indictment the night of August 14th in the symbolic game between the Braves and Yankees. Again, 138th day of the season. So somebody wants to make a 1-second clip. Coffee County's part of this, 138. Fulton County's part of this, 138. Donald Trump's obviously part of this, the latest 138, when the Nationals won the World Series 138 days after his birthday, which we predicted way before it happened, with Dave Martinez as the manager. And again, go back and look at the box score. They threw 159 pitches the same day the Rockets beat DC in the NBA, scoring 159 points. And now we just showed him Montgomery, 159 years to the day of the brawl. Because the Montgomery brawl was one day after Trump was in Montgomery, the old Confederate capital. You see how Confederates 201? They had to have Trump at hotel number 201 the day before the brawl, as they bring up race and history again. And of course, the Jesuit orders 201 and all the other 201s that go with the Jesuits, and Lincoln blaming the Civil War and what was really behind the Confederacy is a bunch of Jesuits, only to die in the Jesuit ritual. And remember, from the day the Confederate statue fell on June 19th, after the George Floyd 201 ritual, remember all the Confederate statues came. There was only one in D.C., the Albert Pike statue. And by the way, we're on the anniversary of Albert Pike's letter about 3 world wars. August 15th, Albert Pike, letter written to the second leader of the Illuminati network founded by the Jesuits. Again, Order of Illuminati 201. Matt Ryan, remember Matt Ryan in his 201st game? They had to put up the stat on the screen. He was playing the Cowboys, and he gave up a huge lead against the Cowboys, like how he gave up a huge lead against in the Texans stadium to Brady, 25 points on 2-5 when Falcons was 25. Jesuit-educated Matt Ryan, who went to Boston College, as Boston comes back and wins by the numbers. Oh, man. But, yeah, go to Jeremy White's channel. He's got that clip archived. The huge 201 they had to put on the screen in Matt Ryan's 201st game as he gives up the lead to Dallas. Once upon a time, there was a Dallas Texans team. Again, when he gave up the big lead, it was in the Dallas Texans Stadium. By the way, now they're the Houston Texans, right? And that's 51. They hosted Super Bowl 51. Just like Minnesota hosted Super Bowl 52. 53, it wasn't the hosting thing, but Patriots 53 won that over Los Angeles 53. The only other team with the 53 connections, Carolina, and we knew it wasn't them that year, which is why we smashed the World Series because we saw it was all we smashed the World Series in the Super Bowl that year because before either of them finished, we saw how they could be perfectly aligned game. See how Super Bowl is 41? The Red Sox won the series 4-1, Boston over LA before Boston beat LA in the Super Bowl. LA's also 41. Tom Brady was 41. But we saw if Boston beat LA in the World Series 4-1, it would be 99 days from the end of the 99th NFL season, which was Super Bowl 53, and how Brady could win it at age 41. And that's exactly what they did. And again, it's just that's why we have so many proofs over the years. And I mean, that was deep into proving things already, but we have so many good examples where we understood it long in advance and showed. And it's deeper than all this, but this is the fast forward version of, again, how rigged the game is because I got to keep painting the picture. But, just to make a point about the 25-point comeback, actually, remember how Trump is 25, even Pence is 25, Pope is 25, Falcons is 25. That was the 97th NFL season, the 25th prime. Something going on with Baltimore right now. I've been documenting all this 97 stuff with Baltimore Orioles this year, and I couldn't figure out what it was, and I feel kind of dumb now, but I heard ESPN say it this morning. They pointed out that the last time Baltimore won the AL East was in 97. I was like, no wonder they've been doing all this 97 stuff. But Baltimore keeps having all the deaths, too. 97 is the 25th prime, deaths 25. Bill Belichick, for the record, he's 97, won the 97th NFL season, Super Bowl 51, and the 25-point comeback over little Jesuit boy Matt Ryan, Matty Ice. And again, that's why if you know the number code and you're watching the game, you're laughing in real time. Why did Jeremy White know to stop and record the 201? He's been following this work for a long time. He found me the year of Super Bowl 50 where we laid out everything, who'd win it, why it would be the Broncos over the Panthers on the 38th day of the year for the 38th state over the team that lost in Super Bowl 38, and laid that out real clear, real clear. And why Von Miller would be the MVP as number 58, drafted one pick after Cam Newton would be the 58th quarterback to start in the Super Bowl because Huey P. Newton equals 58, the Black Panther who founded the Black Panthers in the Bay Area. Huey P. Newton, Cam Newton, who plays for the Panthers. A lot of history with the Niners in San Francisco, who hosted that Super Bowl where the Panthers are from. And the Panthers, like George Seifert, going from the Niners to Carolina. Again, you guys, it's because the same society has been controlling everything. The sports, the news, the narratives. The Black Panthers started at Catholic churches. You guys, look it up. All their original meetings at Catholic churches. The old government of Europe, the old thing that wanted to control the people, was the Catholic Church. I mean, have you ever noticed how Catholic is 35, like Europe's 35, like Holy See's 35, like JFK, the first Catholic president, number 35, like how I's 35, like how they want to control the mind's eye of the masses? You control the people by controlling their minds and, manipulating their behavior. That's what the whole game is here. It's too hard to rebel. There's too many nice things. There's cute girls all over the place dressed in sexy clothes. There's delicious food. There's all this entertainment. Even though my life sucks, I can sit here on the side of the street and still get my kicks, That's how it is for a lot of people. There's more and more people that are homeless. And it's all by design. And remember, the plan is there's all these people pouring into poverty right now. All these people pouring into poverty. And you got this vicious agenda rolling out, Agenda 2030, which all these things that have been happening in the world have been a part of, and people haven't caught on. Donald Trump's real proud to be a part of the agenda, the father of the jab. Again, Event 201 was the simulation. Agenda 21 was signed off in 201 land in South America in the time of the first. You guys, that was back, again, Agenda 21. The signing day, June 13th, 92. The day leaving 201 days left in the year. And let me see if I can spell it right. If I can spell it right, it's 201. Here we go. Rio de Janeiro is where they signed off on 201 on the day leaving 201 days left in the year, but way back when, Agenda 21. And then the extension of it is Agenda 2030. And the Agenda 2030 meeting ended on September 27th, the day in history the Jesuits are recognized by Rome. And again, this number's all with their history. The first Jesuit Pope is Jorge Mario Bergoglio. That's Pope Francis, the first to live in Suite 201. Their founders, Ignatius Loyola 201, and just a million more. A million more. It's why Trump buried his wife in the Jesuit ritual last year on the 201st day of the year, and why Beau Biden died 201 days before the Jesuit Pope, and why his wife and daughter died in 201 rituals, and on and on and on. But oh my God. Okay, so the New York indictment, you guys, was on the first day of the Major League Baseball season. And what we also noticed is, again, Batman, just all these jokes they got running on us. Batman and Joker was a big part of the NBA Finals. Djokovic, the 41st pick of the draft, won the series 4-1 on number 41's birthday. And they outscored Miami by 41 points in the 4-1 series. And again, Bush, number 41, is Skull and Bones. Batman's grandfather created Skull and Bones in the Batman story. So Skull and Bones and Batman are connected. And Skull and Bones and the Templars and Jesuits, how all this stuff comes together. But Trump refers to himself as Batman. If you don't know that, look it up. Trump refers to himself as Batman. And if you're looking at this and saying, well, it says May 1939, remember, magazines usually come way out before the publishing date. This was published on March 30th, 2023, as we'll get to. But again, Trump refers to himself as Batman. He was in court in New York the week after they filmed the latest Joker scene there. And back when the first Joker movie came out, we were shown how synced it was with Trump. And don't forget, Trump was in court. Speaking of 4s and 44, Trump was in court on what would have been, why is his name escaping me? The young actor who died while portraying Joker more than a decade ago, Heath Ledger. It would have been Heath Ledger's 44th birthday the day Trump ended up in court. Look, Heath Ledger, date of birth. He was in court on 4-4. I remember now. Trump was in court in New York after the indictment on 4-4, the anniversary of the assassination of MLK, what would have been Heath Ledger's 44th birthday. And again, as the man who was the 44th person to be president, despite being number 45. And yeah, now the fourth and the fourth state with MLK and 4-4, it's just... And again, Jordan's 60 right now, and the 60th election's upcoming, and all of these. Here's the biblical connection. Look at this, how this goes together with the NBA. Moses Malone, Daryl Dawkins, Kobe, and could Jordan be next? And could it happen at age 60? He's 60 right now. He'll turn 61 next year on February 17th. I hope Michael Jordan makes it there. But I just wonder, because remember, Moses Malone dead at 60 right after the death of Daryl Dawkins. Daryl Dawkins and Gematria equals 60. The first two players taken out of high school, both connected to Philadelphia, like Kobe, who was also taken out of high school. Kobe was the fourth player drafted into the NBA out of high school. Daryl Dawkins was the first, but Moses Malone was the first player out of high school, but drafted by the ABA, which merged with the NBA. And again, Moses Malone drafted by Utah. Kobe finished his career against Utah. Utah is connected to the Mormon Church. The Mormon Church has a history of racism. The number 60 also has a connection to that. Here's what's mind-blowing. I did some research. Look at this, you guys. I think this is right, though. And it's a theory that's put down and ridiculed, and people have said they've proven it's not true, but there's a lot of people who still believe it is true. Just from what I can see about the world and the fact it's being attacked, it makes me think maybe it is true, and it makes a lot of sense. There is a belief that modern-day Nigeria is biblical Egypt, okay? And again, people say it's thoroughly debunked, but there's other people who present evidence of why it very well could be the case. So just being open-minded to this, Nigeria sounds a lot like the N-word, right? Nigeria and the N-word, and the N-word has that Gematria 60. But again, Moses Malone dead at 60. Kobe finished his career against Utah. That started it for Moses Malone out of high school. He was drafted because he was such an impressive physical specimen, just like slave trading, right? Man, look at that one. Look how big and strong he is. He'll pick so much fucking cotton. I'll be the richest motherfucker there ever was. It's the same thing, but man, that motherfucker's going to dunk a lot of basketballs, and we're going to have so many fans in this stadium. They love a slam dunk. He's going to do a lot of them. He'll do more than anybody else. And Moses Malone was like the greatest offensive rebounder there ever was, just overpowering. At least that was the storyline. But anyway, it's the same shit. And we're always documenting how you see these rituals and how these players die in connection to their sports history and their draft history. But 60, right? Moses in the Bible frees his people from Egypt. So is ancient Egypt actually modern day Nigeria? Or is Nigeria at least in part of modern day Egypt? I mean, that could be anything like that. But Moses freezes people in Egypt. And the thing I realized about Moses and Kobe, again, in Exodus 4, where it's all about Moses in Exodus, he doubts God, Moses, and he turns a staff into a snake. Okay? Starts with 4-1, like Moses Malone and Kobe Bryant, 41, like Kobe dead age 41 on the post 41st day of his age, like biblical, right? The Old Testament, the beginning of it, the Torah is the 5 books of Moses. The 4th book is titled Numbers. 4 is such a special number. It's a number connected to death, and death is so important to this occult. Like we've always said, that this thing that we're exposing is a death cult. And all of their rituals are time-related and paying tribute to numbers that are specific to death. And for all the people who come along and say, well, you're using to say, 44, 38, 74, 67, those are all related to killing. People will come all the time and they'll say, you're doing that, and it's probably really easy to connect like every death to those numbers. But it's like, is it really? How many times have all of those numbers been in one death we've looked at? And just how predictive it is. I mean, we're always, we just predicted that we'd have a dead rapper in connection to the 50th anniversary on the kill date. It ends up being Magoo, a Timbaland and Magoo, dead at 50 on the kill date. There's one kill date a month. Something we've been teaching about for years. So the criticism, I just think those people aren't thinking it through all the way and testing out probability. I've been educating out 44 and April 4 and death for so long. And then, again, when the last Joker movie came out, you guys, the one with Joaquin Phoenix, whose brother died at a young age, the actor who was more famous earlier on in their career, River Phoenix, he's hanging out with Johnny Depp, who's had some suspicious deaths connected to him. Johnny Depp lives on. A lot of people don't. River Phoenix is living on. But anyway, that last Joker movie came out while River Phoenix was still 44 years old. And just huge number ritual with that Joker movie and Trump and the election. We were talking about it all then. So now Trump's back in court in the latest Joker movie, part 2. Here we go again. Since Batman's connected to Skull and Bones, you have to know these things if you're new here. You see how Skull and Bones is 149? That's the 35th prime number. Catholic is 35. Again, they're modeled after the Templars who served the Catholic Church. The Templars were burned at the stake for worshiping Baphomet, which is also 35 in Europe, right? 35. We just talked about this. Satan is also 35, but so is Zeus, the Latin spelling of Jesus, and Jesus and Lucifer are the same, and they're both referred to as morning stars. And there are parallels, but again, the Bible's written in parables and riddles. So it's a thinking man's game, and it's left open to interpretation. And that's why some people have different things. But it's interesting how there's all these parallels in the Gematria and the storylines and the numbers in the history. Were the Knights Templars actually serving God, or were they actually serving Satan? This is something debated today. And then you look at the numbers and you're like, my God, it's the same thing. You see how God is 55 and 10? So is Satan, 55 and 10. And what's mind-blowing about that is numerology is 55, and so is Fibonacci. And again, 55 is the 10th triangular number, which means if you add 1 through 10, it equals 55. And 55 is also the 10th Fibonacci number. The 10th Fibonacci number. The 144 is the 12th Fibonacci number. 89 is the 11th. But you just take the last two numbers to get to the next number in the sequence. And that people believe that the Fibonacci sequence is the number of God. Marilyn Manson has the song, when you say 10, when you say, or how's it go? When you say God, I say 10. The Marilyn Manson song. When you say God, I say 10. And he spells it T-E-N, like the number. But do you think, that's, he might have been watching our channel. We might have inspired a Marilyn Manson song. Who knows? Because we're talking about this kind of stuff all the time. Like, why is it this way? Why are things so unclear? Why is there so much confusion? Is it possible that a real spell through language is in effect, and it was like all this knowledge going back to Babylon with these other Kabbalistic systems? Is it possible that they perfected it with the 26-letter system? I mean, look at our Bible. God makes man, who's Adam in the 26th verse. Adam is 26 like God. That's the verse man is made in, who's named Adam. God makes man in his image. Again, there's 206 bones in an adult body, 206, key digits 26. Man is made from stardust in science. The zodiac does a full rotation every 26,000 years. You think about a guy like Bryant, who's worshipped as a god, Kobe Bryant. You see how Bryant's 26 and 37? Kobe Bryant died at age 26 on the 37th anniversary of Bear Bryant on a Sunday. He died in LA. Bear Bryant was with Alabama AL. You just notice how LA's got that 1341. Alabama's got that 13. Again, just sports gods, Kobe Bryant and Bear Bryant, to die on the same day. And again, Bear Bryant died in 83, the year that Kobe was 4, and Moses Malone won the championship in 4 games over the Lakers. And then Kobe dies in the city of Angels in Philadelphia, in the Bible, his hometown, the biblical Philadelphia, the Church of Philadelphia, which is Revelation 3:7, where it begins, gets the letter about the synagogue of Satan. Biblical. Moses, the snake, the serpent, Satan. Satan falls from the sky. Kobe falls in the city of Angels. Kobe had his career high in his 666th game. Mark of the Beast, 81, like Kobe Bean Bryant, right? Scored 81 in his 666th game, had the 666 workout, a number associated with the beast, Satan. How all this stuff comes together. Comedy Central's cartoon about the exploding helicopter with Kobe put out on the 16th day of the 11th month. The King James Bible came out in the year 1611. LeBron, King James, biblical. Philadelphia, biblical. LeBron, King James passes Kobe in points scored, scoring the 54th points the day before his death on 25/1 when 251 is the 54th prime. Ritual sacrifice is also 251. But again, scores the 54th points to pass him on the fitting day. And if you guys have not seen my videos from the day before Kobe died, they're still on Gematria Effect Sports. Go back and watch the video the day before Kobe died. I'm talking about why LeBron's going to pass him on 25/1, the 54, the deaths of Moses Malone and Daryl Dawkins before Kobe's season, only for Kobe to become part of the pattern the next day. But yeah, let me go back more to this March 30th indictment. So that was for May of 39, right? And New York, May, and Batman are all 39. We call New York the 39 state. Aaron Rodgers is going to New York at age 39. Verlander just went to New York at age 39, only to get shipped back to Houston. And once upon a time, Brett Favre, he was 39 years old playing for the New York Jets. Again, so many 39 rituals with New York. It's crazy. The United Nations in New York's 39 floors tall. George Clinton, the first governor. George is 39 like Clinton. He's born on the same day as New York in 1739. Trump announced he was running for president June 16th, 2015, the first time. The 167th day of the year, the 39th prime, he's a New Yorker. Donald John Trump, 76, like Skull and Bones, like Joker. And remember what happened on Bush's 76th birthday on 7/6? The Georgia Guidestones fell down, and they were put up, or the etching on them was on March 22nd, 322, like Skull and Bones' Order 322. I forgot to finish the thing with the Skull and Bones earlier. I talked about 149, the 35th prime. Again, H.W. Bush, the 41st president. H.W. born on June 12th, the day leaving 202 days left in the year. D.C., the 202 area code. And then the son born on 7/6. And again, on his 76th birthday, the Georgia Guidestones fell down with the 322 date on him when that's Order 322. And a lot of people celebrated in the truth community. The stuff that went viral was the celebrating of it going down, that was a win against the Illuminati. And that's not the way I saw it at all. There's no sign that we're winning against the Illuminati. To me, that was a sign of getting rid of history that could be helpful for people in the future to look back at what might have happened. You know, like YouTube got rid of all of my videos from back in the day about the Georgia Guidestones and how genocide's 44, like Georgia, and just the fatefulness of that number. You see how Wisconsin's also 44, like how the Braves went from Wisconsin to Georgia, the Atlanta Braves. They were the Milwaukee Braves. Hank Aaron, number 44. Hank Aaron got killed in the 44 ritual when he died right before the Braves won the World Series. Again, MLK from Atlanta, 4-4. Everything we said about Trump. But remember the year that the Falcons, played Brady in the crazy comeback game. The NFC Championship was Atlanta over the Wisconsin team, the Packers, which were founded by the Jesuit Vince Lombardi. And again, just same numbers, same rituals. Vince Lombardi died unexpectedly at Jesuit Georgetown. But yeah, 44-point win for Atlanta over the Packers in the NFC Championship. And the Super Bowl that year was on 44 date numerology. And Again, we saw these things as real possibilities prior to the season. Before the season, I ranked teams in the NFC, and up at the top of that equation was the Packers and Falcons. They were the first teams I saw in the NFC. Then a former Giant running back died, and I was like, oh man, the Giants also got the 25 connection with the Super Bowl on 2-5 like the Falcons. But the first teams I started with that year, just talking about the history of 44 and the Packers and Falcons, only for that to end up being the NFC Championship, and it being a 44-point win. The scripting, the outcomes, the numbers, the symbolism, the repetitive patterns. I'm being super redundant in this video, but just trying to throw more and more examples out as I spitball. And think about, people should think about that too in my videos. I just do everything off the cuff. Like if I just did everything like wrote a book and then presented it, it would be even better. But I'm also trying to get people to see that there's a lot to it. There's so much that even just spitballing, you can pull up enough stuff off the top of your brain to make the point. Oh, by the way, the day that Trump's in trouble for, January 1st, 2021 in Georgia, that just happened to be 201 days after his birthday. Just the latest old 201 from the Jesuits. So that's also factoring into this indictment story by the numbers. And again, here we are on the Jesuit order's birthday. And it's front and center. And the Jesuit order, 201 and 84, right? 201 and 84, like how Atlanta's on the 84th Meridian West. Like how Trump was in Montgomery, speaking on 8-4 at Hotel 201, bringing back those Confederate, narratives. Again, Montgomery is the old Confederate capital. And if you didn't know, United States of America is also 84. Again, we said the Jesuit order, the Catholic Church is all 84. Since 1984, the U.S. has had diplomatic relations with the Vatican. Isn't it funny how just even looking back at this headline from 2020, like right next to the Robert Trump death of Trump's brother, right next to that was Georgia State Patrol Trooper charged with murder after shooting a black man. Isn't that interesting that was the story in light of all these narratives? And you can see the man has a white top on and a black hat. I mean, it really looks like a Photoshop. It almost looks like that picture was of somebody standing on the corner in Miami selling jewelry, and his face was stuck in there. But and maybe that's part of the joke too, because we know that the oldest person in the Old Testament, Methuselah, is black. The whitewashing of history. It'll all make more sense when you read the chapter I've written. I haven't decided if it's going in the Kobe book or I'll save it for something else. But the whitewashing of history. It's a chapter I recently wrote, and I'm deciding where to put it. It's probably going to make it in the Kobe book. It just makes too much sense because I got to bring up the Kobe book. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll intertwine the two book. Yeah. Anyway, as I'm writing the book, I'm just more tangential when I talk because I got so many things in my head. So these streams in recent days, the way my mind works, I'm just feeding all this stuff that might make it unclear for some people or less clear or harder to keep it all in. But if that's you and this is intriguing, support the latest book when it comes out. Hey, feel free to support the books that are out there now. If you go on anywhere and search my name, Zachary K. Hubbard, you should find the books that are out there that are for sale. There are people online selling my book, which I wonder how much money those people make. I'm hardly making any money off selling the book, so I'm not going to lose sleep over other people trying to sell my book online. I'd be mad though if I found out somehow they found a way to distribute the book well. It's like, oh, that's where all the funds went. Everyone's buying that version for some reason. Yeah. You know what? Just because I'm looking at that, I want to go back and look at this story. Actually, I got to go back and look at this story. Where's it at? Where was it again? Where was that? Georgia State Patrol Trooper chart. It's just, this is what the programming looks like. It's crazy how redundant it is. Clashes break out at rally in Michigan. This is back when Bill Maher was saying it was just the 93 World Trade Center bombing. The next election would be a lot worse. And I'm just thinking about it more and more. It makes so much sense, man. The anniversary of the Jesuits trying to blow up British Parliament. All this stuff going on. I had to type this up. August 15, 2020, Georgia officer shoots black man. What a story. Racially provoking, super obvious. connected to MLK State. Here it is, CNN. This is the story, August 15, 2020. Posted at 56 minutes after the hour, 9:56. Clever 9/11. Who you gonna call? A Georgia State Patrol trooper has been arrested and charged with felony murder after fatally shooting a black man during an attempted traffic stop. Jacob Gordon Thompson, 27, was arrested on Friday in connection with the fatal officer-involved shooting in Screven County. Screven County. It's almost like 7 with a CR. Interesting name. Screven County that occurred on August 7th. Oh, it even occurred on the 7th. In this month, where all this is happening. They waited 8 days because this became the news on August 15th. Oh, look at what else I see. Thompson attempted to step Julian Edward Roosevelt Lewis, 60, for a traffic-related offense. Wow. He was 60, you guys. And this was, where do I keep going with it? Let me put it down here so I don't lose it. Well, what are the odds of that? I mean, are we not about the 60th election and how big 60 is in the ritual and in the race thing? And 4 and 60, and this in the 4th state from an officer. Again, all these words with that military connection, like police and military, very connected. Officer 44, the department 44, soldier 44, trooper 44, infantry 44, military 44, kill 44, execution 44, so on. That's what militaries do. They kill. What happened to Maui by the code? Killing. All the coincidences, right? And then they got to have the cover-up story. Oh, but they're going after the electrical company. You guys, have you ever gone down the street and imagined that your city could just burn down and everything would melt because there was a power line problem? And this is where the mainstream, all the journalists are repeating the same thing. Already a suit against the power line company, which might have a lot to do with the Maui fire. I'm like, oh, I'm sure that's what happened in Maui. Little power line problem. I'm sure that just burned down. How does a forest fire melt metal? How did the 9/11 buildings turn to dust? We keep saying the same things. This looks like military technology. This looks like sophisticated shit. 9/11 in Manhattan, where the Manhattan Project was to develop sophisticated weapons. 93 World Trade Center bombing right after Clinton stops the underground weapons testing program that had been going on for nearly a half century, only for them to have this opportunity to work in Manhattan underground because the bombs detonated downwards, they said, in the 93 World Trade Center bombing. Then they come down in a perfect demolition and they call it, what do they call it? They call it ground zero. Ground zero, for the record, 127, like buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell there. The terminology of ground zero pertains to where a hydrogen, atomic, or nuclear bomb goes off, above or below ground. Just for the record, atomic bomb is 93, like the year of the 93 World Trade Center bombing, and the last guy to drop the atomic bomb on Japan, he died in 93. That happened on August 6th. It can be written 6/8. 911 made the national emergency dialing code in 68. World Trade Center construction began in 68. All the things in 68. New York Jets, only Super Bowl winning season. The New York Jets, all these years later, the first team to hire a Muslim head coach who came over from San Francisco. Jesuit town. Little jokes. Muhammad Atta, born in 68, the lead hijacker. But again, buildings 1, 2, and 7 fell. 9/11 was called the new Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was on December 7th. Crazy military thing just happened in Hawaii, blamed on the power company. They keep doing that, right, with all these crazy fires. It was the power company. The power company forgot to, prep the line down on 43rd Street, which led to the, it's such a joke, man. I just get tired of getting treated like a joke. Oh, really? A power line problem melted still. The fire was that bad, huh? Burned down the whole damn town. Except for Oprah's house. Oprah survived. Must have been the one she was hiding out for 322 days. Remember that story? Kabbalah, 3 pillars, 22 paths. Kabbalah, where this whole thing of letters and numbers come from. These people doing this stuff every day, laughing in our face. The mockery. Anyway. Oh yeah, we were looking at this story, the killing of the 60-year-old man, and now here, and now it just seems that, again, I mean, seriously, on this same day 3 years ago, this was it. Robert Trump, Trump's brother, dead in a Georgia killing, and now we're, oh my god, man, isn't it funny how it is? I mean, we might have covered this story. Hey, you know what else I see that's nice about this story? Between the 27-year-old cop and the 60-year-old man killed on 8/7. What's 27 plus 60? 87. You know, what's a name that equals 87 where we've talked about a number of rituals that goes back to Atlanta? Martin, 87. Martin Luther King Jr. and killed on 4/4. Again, just look how it is, you guys. Joe Biden, 44, right? JFK was the 44th term president. The first president to die in office died on April 4th. William Henry Harrison, the same day MLK died on. Again, this fourth indictment in this fourth state, Georgia. You know, they want a new gun control thing. Biden promised gun control. And they've done some things, but it doesn't seem like as big as what he pledged. How about a political assassination story to really ram through to get both parties on board to just really fuck America and the Second Amendment? How about that? Don't you think that's exactly what they're going to do? You guys know the first ever major gun control legislation was in that same year, 68. The same year, everything went down from 9/11. Coronavirus was coined that year. Fentanyl was approved by the feds, the FDA. It's always keeping us safe. You'd think with the tragedy of fentanyl, they would just shut it down, right? Why not just stop? Why not cut off fentanyl to America right now since it's epidemic killing so many people? I mean, we banned marijuana that wasn't killing anybody. So here's a drug that's killing a lot of people. Oh, that's right. You can grow weed in your backyard. You can grow weed on your own property. You know, you don't need Pfizer to make your weed for you. Sure, Pfizer could probably make a lot more potent weed. It might also have some side effects. But anybody can grow weed. Hell, hydroponic, man. Hydroponic, that's where the term the chronic came from. You didn't know that. Dr. Dre, they called it the chronic because it was the first time they ever smoked hydroponic. And for people who don't smoke weed, like a lot of people's weed in Southern California was like, they call it Mexican pack, hard, old, dry weed. You got to crumble up, growing outside. I mean, it'll get you high. But man, you get some hydroponic, you're like, what is this? It's cushy. It's got big crystals coming off of it. You're like, is this a diamond? So that's the chronic, the hydroponic, which you grow indoors in perfect conditions. It's like where artificial can be seemingly better than natural because you can manipulate everything in a totally controlled environment to make it just right. Sometimes I think that's the way the Jesuits look at the world. They're like, fuck nature. Nature doesn't do a good enough job. There's too much variability in nature. Let's create a perfect Mecca where we're in control of the weather, but how do we get there? Well, shit, we got to take a wrecking ball to, well, today it says Lahaina. Today we wrote down Lahaina, so sorry, Lahaina, but I swear by the time Jesus returns, we'll have it all just perfect, and the world will be the greatest place ever because that's how we think it's all going to work out, but today we'll sacrifice Lahaina to get there. I really think at the end of the day, that's what these people are doing. You know, I think they really do think that they're, well, I mean, that would be the hardest thing to argue with them. They'd be like, how do you think God isn't behind us? Just like the Templars said God was behind them. I'm sure the Jesuits think the same thing. They're achieving their plan, aren't they? It's like, it's a pretty crazy plan. They're controlling the world. They have literally figured out a way through technology to manipulate the minds of the masses. And it's a lot of people. It's not everybody, because not everybody has a TV and a radio in their house. Some people are just like living life as human beings. The rest of us, we're living life as what we're supposed to do by the cultural programming, and we're thinking and believing the things that we're supposed to go along with, and everything's fear-based if you don't comply and conform. And you get it in a lot of ways. You get it at church, you get it at school, you get it through TV programming, probably get it through your family that's gone through all the same things, so it happened to them. But yeah, it's not hard to see who did it. And I've been talking about the Jesuit order in 201, the Holy Bible's 201. That's why they pull everything straight from the Bible all the time, over and over. There's a phrase in the Bible about Satan, which I find interesting, that old serpent. It's the exact same as Jesuit order, forwards and backwards. And the serpent's a deceiver, a trickster, someone who uses words to confuse people, knows their natural nature. And isn't it funny, as I'm looking at it right now, I'm looking at that old serpent 60 and 75 thing. The reason I'm looking at 75 is because Kobe's 75, and again, just a 60 ritual with Moses Malone. And Moses Malone Malone. Oh, by the way, Malone is 60, and so is Karl Malone, because again, the whole Utah thing with Moses Malone and Kobe and their star player Karl Malone. And again, Nigeria sounds like this word, which equals 60, and they hire the police to enforce the new rules that are really hard on the darker complected people. And a lot of police do have the mentality that it's definitely changing as time goes on, but I'd say that's where it seemed that the majority of the racists were when I was growing up in the police force. Oh yeah, shit. And that's the other point I forgot to make. This killing in Georgia that was in the news the same day as Trump's brother's death. A 60-year-old man, a 27-year-old officer, a difference of 33 years, right? 33. Police, 33. Secrecy, 33. Masonry, 33. Federal, DC's the Masonic city named after George Washington. Federal, 33. George Washington has that monument, the Masonic monument in Virginia built to him that's 333 feet tall. The Masons have the Masonic temple in DC, the house of the temple, 33 columns on the outside, each 33 feet tall. And the address for that building is 1733. Again, Mason is 17, Masonry 33, modern Freemasonry since 1717, Freemasonry 59, the 17th prime, 1717 to 1776 was 59 years. This ritual with the 58th and 59th election with Trump and now the 60th. And I've always understood a lot about 58 and 59, but I feel like, and I've known things about 60, but I feel like 60 is a lot more important than I've been giving credit to. See how the word holy is 60 and the word order is 60? We essentially are talking about a holy order, the Jesuits. That's how they see themselves. And again, holy Bible rituals and really wicked stuff, but I think they justify it all somehow. It's like, see, he made all the wrong choices. We're just doing what was meant to be done. Oh, man. What else is there about this story? Maybe we should run the numbers real quick. The officer was Jacob Gordon Thompson. Jacob, that's biblical. Jacob, Israel. Jacob, Israel. Jacob Gordon Thompson's 224, like the Society of Jesus. 89, which is Chaos Code. 289, questionable. The Society of Jesus is 91 and 224, like his name. Jacob Gordon Thompson. Again, order out of chaos. To go back and see if there was anything brewing on August 9th in Georgia. They leaving 144 days left in the year. And then the man who was killed was 60-year-old Julian Edward Roosevelt Lewis. They gave him a four-part name in the fourth state, Georgia, as Trump gets his fourth indictment. Three, two, one, like a countdown. 114. That was the last Congress that Obama was in there with, who also has the 44 connection. 156. 9/11 is the 156 prime. That number comes up a lot. 114. Martin Luther King Jr.'s 114. And remember, there's something about next year, too, the election year and the Emmys. Because, again, Donald Trump made his name in television. The Emmys, the TV awards have been moved to Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday next year. They'll be the 75th Emmys. Martin is 75. Martin's also 42. The sitcom Martin is set in apartment 42. In Detroit, the 42nd parallel. The number that goes with 42 is 59. I'm a little bit worried about Martin Lawrence because he turns 59 next year. Again, Detroit, Motown began there in 59. Black History Month ends on the 59th day of the year. We've talked about a lot of deaths with a lot of Black entertainers in connection to 59. And it seems to happen almost every year on May 9th that there's several in the news. Always more than one, it seems like, for dead Black entertainers on May 9th. Remember what they did to Coolio? Like, Coolio was like the biggest, it might have been the biggest 59 thing I ever saw. And then plus he died on the 46-year anniversary. That's the sacrifice code 46. Died on the 46th anniversary of Pastime Paradise, the Stevie Wonder song that's the sample for Gangsta's Paradise. And whatever Gangster's Paradise is, however, if it's spelled Gangsta or Gangster, whatever the official title is, the song, the Gematria of it, is the day of the year Coolio died on. And there's more to it as well. But, and you know what else about 59? In light of Atlanta, where we are with this whole story, and last night's baseball game, the Yankees did get the 59th loss, and I might have said it already, but just in case I didn't, Atlanta, Georgia's 59, predominantly Black city. Again, Ephesians 6, 5 through 9. Slave 59, Negro 59, Blues 59, Rasta 59. All these 59s. Big number in history. Slave 59, slavery 102, the American Civil War on the 102nd day of the year. Slavery 87, like a name like Martin, like the killing in Georgia on August 7th. A 27-year-old, a 60-year-old, a total of 87 years. There's something I'm forgetting right now with the Selma to Montgomery March in 87. I know it's there. We talked about it earlier this year. Was it the Selma? Hold on. No, I'm going to look it up. I'm not going to be lazy like that. It was the tornado. Look at this. Look at this. Weather warfare, you guys. Weather warfare. And with regards to the thing in Hawaii and just Obama and Trump in history, again, Trump's Mr. 88, right? That happened on 88. Trump said the calm before the storm. All these things to rile us up, to make us feel like we're living in the craziest, most biblical time there ever was. Remember, Holy Bible's 45 to go with number 45. All the stuff that's been going on. Let me see if I got this right. Tornado. Is this the right post? I thought it was the Selma thing. Where's Selma at? That was on the 87th day of the year. Hold on. This was on the 83rd day of the year. Hold up. Selma. Here we go. All right. Yeah, this is what it was. It was synced up with the MLK thing, but let's go back and look at this. Okay. From March 21st through March 25th, 1965, that was the march to Selma to Montgomery. And it was 87 kilometers. Okay? 87. It was also 54 miles, which we talked a lot about. Jesuit Order 54. What just happened to the Black Godfather? His 54 record label, he's dead 54 years after it on a Sunday. Sun 54, like Jesuit Order. The Sun Cult. But okay, you have this tornado in Selma, right? Tornado's 87, like Martin, like slavery. And Selma's on the 87th Meridian West. Again, an 87-kilometer march started there. And we talked about so many times them using this number ritualistically. And this happened right before Martin Luther King Jr.'s official birthday. 3 days before. 3 has the relationship with 56, like Black Lives Matter, like Society of Jesus, like natural disaster. The Black Godfather born on the 56th day of the year. Obama, the first election he won was the 56th. The day that the Montgomery to Selma march ended on a date with 112 numerology, and then this happened on 112. The Jesuits operate in 112 countries. So just earlier this year, we were talking about this. Selma to Montgomery, weather warfare. I mean, look at it right now. Montgomery, crazy things in Maui, M, the 13th letter. Again, 13's big with the nation. Symbolism. The land of the 13 stripes, the 13 colonies, the 13 years of school. Mason, the 13th letter. Jesus and the 12 disciples, the sun and the zodiac. The old zodiac has 13 constellations. The new one has 12 to go with the sun, like Jesus and his 12 disciples. Time, the moon, Mary, the 13-month cycle of the moon. But yeah, this was at the beginning of the year, some weather warfare that seemed, too close. Because it's way too early for tornadoes. And it's like, really? Right before Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a tornado. And we've talked about tornadoes in 87 before. This isn't the first time. So it's like why we recognize the pattern. We're like, wait a minute, there's something with the weather warfare. And again, just now we all see how it's coming together. The anniversary of the Civil War battle in Montgomery on the river. You got the riverfront brawl about race. It's all these Confederate towns. It's the George Floyd 201 killing ritual. Synced up with the Paris, France, similar 201 killing ritual. Again, the home of the Jesuits. Then the 201 rituals with the Confederate statues. And January 6th, and now the upcoming election. And we're right back in the we're back in the Confederate States. Everything's focused there. Military 44, Georgia, big military center for the South in the time of the Confederate War. This thing with Trump. History. It's just... Donald Trump turned 22 years old in 68, the year all that stuff went down. 22, 22 chapters in Revelation, just the biblical theming, fire raining from the sky, Maui. I would have loved to have seen, I mean, not loved to have seen because it's sick, but I just wish there was a way that I could see what they did to Maui. Like, how can a fire just like melt steel and metal and destroy property, but seemingly skip over grass and trees? Like, what kind of fire is that? That seems like it's some kind of technology, like those energy weapons they were talking about. If you missed yesterday's video on all the stuff that went down in 64 and direct energy weapons and where it's with Do the Do and Maui Burst and Pepsi Cola, the biggest food company in North America. And if you're the biggest food company in North America, again, like food controls people more than anything, you might be way more powerful than the US federal government at the end of the day. Pepsi Cola. Its founder was a sun devil. Sun just burned up Hawaii, so they tell us because of the climate change. Go along with the Paris Accords. Okay, I'm done spitballing and trying to make my point in as many different ways as possible to bring everything together in a collage of events that happened this year. Um, let me put my eyes on the chat and see if anybody has any questions or comments. Thank you to the super chatters. We'll go through those. Marlins, Braves, -1.5. Rangers, -1.5. Orioles on a 4-bet made me $82. Knowledge is power. Smash the like and please share. Very cool, Chris. And again, you guys, for all the people who say I turn people into gambling addicts, this is exactly what I teach. Make your budget $5 a day. Save your $5 that you might lose gambling somewhere else. But it's about budgeting and finding a way that each day you can create a lottery ticket in sports that pays upwards of $50 to $100. And people have turned $5 bills into thousands of dollars in our community with really awesome parlays on special days. And I want to say the last time I heard a story like that in our community was in June, which wasn't that long ago. It's been about 2 months since I heard anybody did that. I don't know that everybody gives me feedback. But again, the power of the knowledge. And to me, it's about being smart and taking advantage of the rigged system we live in and being responsible. If you can learn to budget $5 a day, not waste $5 at the fast food restaurant or on whatever supersizing stuff, sodas, junk food you don't need, take that toxic $5 out of your diet. And you know what? Maybe just save the $5 or maybe invest in the market or save it for your rainy day account. Because if you save $5 every day, you have almost $2,000 at the end of the year. That's something. So I'm teaching people how to do that. But one thing people like to do is gamble. And with this knowledge, you can make good money. Yesterday, you could have easily turned $5 into $200 off the games that were out there yesterday, the way they followed, because yesterday was one of these days where they followed the patterns really tight. And there'll be days where you might miss three $5 parlay. You might miss the whole week. You might have a really bad week. Sometimes I have a bad week. I'm like 50-50 every day. It's hard to hit a parlay when you're 50-50 for a whole week. But then the next week we get back on track and we smash like 5 of the days and people hit on 5 big parlays. So it's like, okay, if you lost $35 in the bad week and you just hit 5 parlays this week that each paid between $40 and $200, you're way up. And now you're still betting only $5. Like that's what I always tell people. I said, don't even try to become an overnight millionaire and double your money. Just be the tortoise. Stick to the $5 method each day and try to get better and better at winning with that $5 and being as consistent as possible, because the less you lose, the more you win, the faster your money builds. Of course, when you hit the big grand slam and you're going for the 10-teamer every day, trying to turn 5 into 2,000, that's what some people do every day. And the thing is, that's why I always tell people, if you're doing that every day, you're swinging for a home run every day. In baseball, sometimes it's better to get hits. You keep getting hits, you're going to score runs. You're going to be winning. You're going to be winning a lot of ball games. It might get real frustrating to try and hit a 10-teamer and you're on a 60-day drought. Your 10-teamer hasn't worked, and all you've done is pissed away $5 for 60 straight days. That starts to get annoying. But hey, if you were just building up and you had several wins over those 60 days, you might have piled up $1,000 already by now, just by being smart. So anyway, shout out to Chris. Chris has used this knowledge to come out and pound payment from Oklahoma City to New York City. So again, when all people come here and rag on what I'm doing and the stuff I'm teaching people, all I got to say is look at a guy like Chris. You know, Chris has taken the knowledge, made money off it, and used that money to have more free time and come out and do things that he cares about, like sharing the knowledge and trying to wake people up to the agendas we're talking about. That's why I feel good about what I've done, and I don't worry about all the haters and naysayers. I just see those people as losers. Losers' opinions don't matter. It's why the idea of democracy is a joke. In a collection of people, we might all be born equal, but a lot of us become losers. The opinions and ideas of losers do not matter. They should not be allowed to vote. They don't matter. They're losers. If everybody gets on their wavelength, you'll just have a society of losers. And that's kind of what's happened. We live in a society where the squeakiest wheel gets the grease. And we got a lot of squeaky wheels. Squeaky wheels are kind of like whiny losers. Again, they're always bringing up the whiny loser narrative. This weakling over here, this person who can't compete. So we got to do this for them. So we got to bring the bar down for everybody else so that we can do this for this low life over here. That's like what America is. And that's why we've gotten to be where we are, because everything's so weak and there has to be so much safety and protocol and red tape and keep you from falling in a hole, which you should be able to see yourself. America. And that's why they fall for this shit every day and cheer for losers. Like, how could you cheer for Donald Trump if you weren't a loser? How could you cheer for Joe Biden if you weren't a loser? How could you cheer for Barack Obama? This is going to offend a lot of people, but I'm going to be honest. How could you cheer for Barack Obama if you weren't a loser? You know what Barack Obama did while on the campaign trail? You had to be a loser to be so passionately involved in a man who you knew nothing about. Barack Obama showed you he was the biggest political fraud there ever was in the history of political frauds before he was ever even president. And again, that's a fact. That's not me talking bullshit. That's a fact. He said he was a constitutional lawyer and what was going on in America had to be stopped. It was unconstitutional. It could not happen. But then when it came time to vote, how did he vote after all these months of saying that on the campaign trail? Oh my God, he voted for exactly what he said could not happen. How was it even possible? If you don't know what that is, he voted for immunity for the telecommunications companies that have been collecting all of our records and data since even before 9/11 and the Patriot Act. They said AT&T had been collecting everybody's records going back to 84. I'm sure it goes back further than that. I was like, wow, so 9/11 allowed it to become like legitimate on the books, what these companies had already been doing. And Obama's out here saying these people need to be prosecuted. They violated our rights as Americans. And then only to vote for immunity for the telecommunications. I mean, how could you vote for the guy? How could you vote for that? Because these people in our nation are fucking losers. Sorry, I know that probably offends a lot of you because you voted for Obama. But again, I also want people to be tough and be able to swallow a pill and say, okay, I might have been a loser. I should have been more informed. You should have. You know what the cost of not being more informed was? You put another asshole in office who got a whole bunch of young people killed and created a whole bunch more bullshit, and we're still in that bullshit because you haven't been part of the solution yet. Yeah, I just got to make sure nobody thinks that I'm just some Trump hater. No, I'm sick of the American people just walking along like zombies, watching zombie TV shows and not catching on to the game that's played every day with our lives. Bullshit elections, 9/11, bullshit sports. Shout out to Mike Rawson. Appreciate you being a member for 3 months. That's a good way to pledge $1 a month. I think you can even pledge more, actually, but it's a good way to pledge $1 a month. At least I think. Maybe not, because I don't know. YouTube seems to be the most scandalous with their payouts. But thank you to those who do it. At the very least, it's a thought that counts, and it shows that you think the work should be financially supported, which I appreciate. 13 Serpents, always with the generosity. Thank you again. Mike Rawson, thank you ×2. Open Up, always with the support. Same numbers every day, day after day for 10 years. Not sure I've ever seen a 10-year coincidence. Yeah, me neither. And that's the thing. I felt like I was looking at 10 years of something that had to be more than a coincidence before I found Gematria. I was trying to figure out what it was about numbers and news and rituals from September 11, 2001 until 2013 when I found it. I couldn't find the right thing. I found Gematria, and then it all made sense. I mean, that's why I knew it wasn't bullshit from the beginning. And then I realized right away everyone was saying I was crazy because they were the same people who just go along with all authorities and all lies and seemingly have no critical thinking. So that's why in 2013, in August, when I found this, I had to essentially, you guys, I everybody who I'd known and all the people I've been friends with, I kind of cut almost everybody off because they're just all talking so much shit back in 2013 when I found this. And I was like, I don't need to hear all these fucking negative losers in my life. I got to stop being friends with losers. You know? So, and that was the reality of the situation because only losers would have the reaction they had to me. It's a society of losers. They keep doing loser shit and thinking they're so holier than thou with all their loser beliefs. I'm tired of it. I have not been taken by this game. I've been seeing it the whole time. I'm mad that it's over 20 years of understanding this and still hardly anyone in America gets it. And they're still falling for the same shit so hard. It's pathetic. Amy at Crack Their Code has a post. Jason Cantrell, husband of New Orleans mayor, dead at 55. City announces. We'll look at that. John Mendoza again. You can't stop this guy from donating. I've told him many times he hit his quota along with other people who donate. I guess if everybody who hit their quota stopped donating, there'd be like no donation. So thank you to you guys who are so generous. There's not a lot of names that we call here on the super chat list, but the same people. Again, I feel like you guys did more than enough, but at the same time, thanks to you, it feels like there's new appreciation every day. He says, I'll check this interview later today. Thank you. All right. But he gives a super chat anyway. Appreciate it, John. Spatium Viator with $2 says Ravens O'Hare. Oh, Michael Orr. Yeah, I saw that. Michael Orr they made the movie about The Blind Side. He's been hinting for a long time that it's a big lie and fairy tale for Hollywood, and he's not happy. I'm sure it's by the numbers. And again, he was a Raven, and we're talking about all the dead Ravens. Be careful, Michael Orr. Sandra Bullock in Murder by Numbers and The Blind Side. What just happened to her partner? He was in his 58th year of life. Super Bowl 58 upcoming like Baltimore. Again, that's the thing. Baltimore's 95 and 58. 58th Super Bowl on the 95th birthday of the Vatican. All these Baltimore deaths. Doesn't guarantee that they're going to be in the Super Bowl, but they should be a significant part of the AFC narrative. Super Bowl III was Baltimore and the New York Jets. Could something be going on there? Baltimore won it right before 9/11 in the three planes. And again, just football, you guys. 1968, the year everything went down for 9/11. That was the only year the Jets won the Super Bowl. Beating the Colts with Broadway Joe. After 9/11 and the Patriot Act, the Patriots became the greatest NFL team there ever was. But now Robert Sala's the first Muslim coach with those Jets back in 68. And Muhammad Atta, first Muslim coach, just happens to be New York Jets. I just wonder if because this year's what's it called? Hard Knocks on Jesuit HBO. It began with Robert Sala, the Muslim coach, telling the story of how an eagle kills a crow, and a crow can be a raven. Eagle can breathe much higher in the air, so an eagle just grabs a crow and keeps its feet facing out because the crow's feet are dangerous, and flies high until the crow can't breathe anymore, and it just suffocates to death and die, and then the eagle flies down and, eats it or stores it away for later eating. And he tells that story right after the Eagles' Super Bowl loss, and in this year where all these Ravens are dying, and that's how Hard Knocks begins. I mean, really? Jets fly through the sky like eagles and ravens. Symbolism, rituals, probably other things that I don't get about it. Again, planes on 9/11, New York Jets. Also, Queen Conscious, thank you for the $5. Truth seekers, we expose them. We do. But I really appreciate your generosity. I wish there were more people that could find $5 for this work at least one time in their life. If we had way more resources, again, I maintain that if you found this channel, I hope you're in agreement. This knowledge exposes who, what, when, why, and where, and what's coming next, and why we need to stop playing this game. I've never found any other knowledge that does that. I've never found anything that's as useful, that has as much utility as Gematria. I mean, you can literally take advantage of so many things. Rig sports, the market. I mean, this is major league knowledge that not enough people are anywhere near appreciating. And some people say that the mistake I made is just doing so much for free all these years. It's watered down the value because there's just so much to learn from. I don't feel bad about that if that's the truth. This knowledge ultimately needs to be out there. But I do just wish somehow, some way, we'd get some big funders behind us and make it so that we could, in every city, have operations, giveaways, things to bring out people. Those trucks that have you guys seen those trucks that are downtown in cities that have like a big digital billboard? Imagine having that and being able to control that billboard with a Gematria presentation. Find a place to park that in the city. Get a corner, get it out there real early, do whatever you got to do to have that parking spot, pay whatever it is for that parking spot. Big speaker setup, New York City place. I mean, imagine we were out front of the World Trade Center. Imagine we have that backdrop. Everything we're talking about. If you missed us last year in New York on 9/11, that backdrop with a huge screen like that visual would be so helpful to people. Just going through the pictures of everything 1968. Get people to really think about it. How all those things could happen in the year, and then how it all come together in 9/11, and then also now fentanyl and coronavirus. And that year. So many things point to that year. But anyway, thank you to the super chatters. And here, let me put my eyes on the rest of the chat. If anybody else has an observation about what's going on in Georgia, politics, sports, anything we've been talking about, my eyes are looking that. Nuclear, that's a thought. Remember, there was a big deal about the South Park episode, and South Park is so Jesuit. You guys, the only South Park episode that's ever been eliminated was episode 201. Look it up. But South Park, also part of the predictive programming, mocking the masses, Comedy Central, a network that's part of it, the old CC. But they had that cartoon about Trump and the nuclear football. And again, just the Kennedy things, and Kennedy with the nuclear scare, with Castro, who was Jesuit educated. History repeating itself. Recent relations changes with Cuba and the U.S., and just Berlin Wall, and history, and Cold War. Cold War is another 113. It's just, they got all these little narratives circulating. And it's sick seeing how they've been doing this and how they keep doing it. But eventually, the day that humanity does figure it out and overthrows them, if that day comes, hopefully that day comes, you got to be realistic about things. Like right now, there's no sign really that anything's anywhere near changing, because there's just so few people who care about anything that's going on that matters. You know that game about the devil that they released, version 4, right? Diablo 4. It has a huge ad in the New York skyline right as the fires have turned New York looking like Gotham City with the orange sky, and it says Diablo 4, welcome to hell, just in time for the New York smokeout. And I saw how that game released 201 days after the Superior General's birthday, and the remake they just did of the older game the other year was announced on the day, leaving 201 days left in the year. They put out like the preview for it or something like that. We've been talking about this, but then they have their first season on the 201st day of the year. If you guys go on YouTube and search Diablo 4, you will be blown away by how much the community that plays that game cares about that game, and how much energy they put into lobbying the company to make changes and make the game better, and how there's hundreds of thousands of views on all these videos, millions of views, tens of thousands of comments, all this debate online. Essentially, adults who've been playing a video game series for 20 years who care so much about this game that they're spending all their time outside of work playing it, advocating it for it to be better, fighting about it, posting videos. I look at this and I'm just like, isn't this mind-blowing? They're all disappointed. They feel like they're spending too much time playing the game and it's not good enough for the amount of time investment. I'm like, isn't this amazing that these people want to fight virtual demons and not fight the real demons that are really like they're at the time that Maui is burning up, and people should have their eyes on this, and weather warfare, and know about these things. These people are having an outlash because something's wrong with the game and it should have got fixed recently, but it's just like, it's this hysteria right now in that game. I mean, search Diablo 4 on YouTube and just look at all the views on the videos and the fight and the strife and how much they care and how much they're outraged. And it's just like, oh my, it's like sports too, right? Now it's just become video games. Video games are like sports. I've been saying the same thing about sports forever, but I'm realizing it's just all the same thing. People care so much more about entertainment than what's actually going on in our lives. It's crazy. And I realize how it can be. I was just thinking about how this can be, because like, and the way I am as a person, the way I'm wired, it can't be that way. It can't be that way. I could just, I like, it just seems so illogical. It seems insane to me to care more about entertainment than what's actually going on in the world. But I was thinking about it, I was like, well, the difference between me and these people is probably the way we were brought up. My world was brought up with questions. I questioned everything. I didn't come from the best household. I came from poor class, hardworking family that was super stressed out, that was fighting with each other all the time. You know, my mom had grown up as a teenager who had a child very young, and then met my dad and got pregnant with my dad when she wasn't ready for that because she's already overwhelmed with her daughter. And then so that's the environment I grew up in, an environment with problems and strife and anger. So from a young age, when I could think, I was like, why is it like this? don't feel like it's supposed to be like this. And the perspective I had is I noticed when I was just with my dad, things were really good. When I was just with my sister, things were really good. When I was just with my mom, things were pretty good usually, but sometimes my mom would be tripping in public and creating a scene, and I didn't see anyone else doing that. But I just noticed, like, when it all came together, it was just a disaster every time. So I couldn't figure it out as a kid. I was just like, this is just weird. Why are they so? But anyway, you grow up, and then you grow up, and things start to make more sense. And you see the way the world is. But then I realized that, like, that was the epiphany I had when I was 18. I always thought the world was worse than it needed to be. It didn't make sense to me why there was so much anger and strife. But then when I saw 9/11 happen as an 18-year-old, I saw how we were being fucked with, and I was like, because I'd always wondered. It was in my mind that maybe school was really actually meant to fuck with us. I had a good friend when I was younger named Jesse. Him and I would always have the conversation about, well, like, was school actually made? We were both better students. We did well. We were at the top of our class. We were friends. We were good athletes. And he came from a different family though. Like, his dad owned restaurants. But anyway, I just remember being a young kid, always talking with Jesse about who really created school, and is it meant to mess with us? And is it meant to make us dumber? We were starting to have these thoughts at a young age because we were just, everything was all boring. It was boring. And we didn't feel like we had competition on the basketball court. These other kids were older and bigger than us, and we were beating them. Where is the competition at? Jesse and I wanted to know. But anyway, now I just look at it and I just know the answer is yes. We've been getting fucked with so bad. So bad. And it's getting worse. And the manpower of America, for every person who cares about the truth right now, we're just talking about one form of entertainment, one big video game right now in a world of a million video games that people are playing, and movies that they're watching, and sports games they're watching. We're talking about one tiny sect of the world of entertainment. Well, it's actually a pretty decent one right now because there's like millions of people playing this game. So it's millions of people. But if you look at online right now, the volume of traffic about what people care about, there's more volume of traffic for that one video game, which is one slice of the entertainment pie, and people being concerned about something happening in the world. They're concerned their video game isn't good enough. That the concern for that is overwhelming compared to the concern for what just happened in Maui or any of this other shit. It's crazy. That's why I've always said, for everybody in the community who gets it, that's why you got to do more as you, to help get out the word and change the world. When we've had these rallies, again, I drove across the whole U.S. back and forth multiple times last year. People came out, and it was nice that the people came out, and people hit it off and had great conversations, and it was a lot of fun. But there wasn't nearly enough people at any of the gatherings. We didn't even make 100 in New York or L.A. We were probably in the 70s in both cities. I think we had more people in Oklahoma City, but Oklahoma City was the best promoted and organized, longest in advance, and people did commute because it is central to the country. Again, we were in Oklahoma City for the anniversary of the 95 World Trade Center bombing to educate about the huge Jesuit 144 ritual and that, and the 201s. And God, I really thought more people would rally to my cause when they saw what happened. I got to Oklahoma City. Wasn't it crazy when I got to Oklahoma City how they were waiting for me? They knew my name, and they had security ready, and they went hands-on right away and started shoving me around. And I didn't have a camera out. I wasn't doing anything. All I had done was walked up into the building to find out when the next museum tour was, because I wanted to go on the tour. Or that's what I was going to do. I was going to the building to find out the museum tour because I wanted to take the April 19th bombing and see if I learned anything new. Shout out to Kayla Deco Tucker. By the way, you guys, for everyone in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Kayla will be in Phoenix at where the Sparks play. I think they play in Phoenix still downtown. The basketball team definitely played in Phoenix when I was in Arizona. But she's going to be at the Sparks Stadium on September 8th. On her megaphone, educating about everything they've done with Brittany Griner and a whole lot more. So if everybody wants to go out and pound pavement with Kayla, she's going to be there September 8th. I know we got some truth seekers that pound pavement down in Tucson. Tucson is a little bit of a drive from LA. But if the Tucson crew is available to go up to Phoenix for September 8th, which is plenty of time to plan for, almost a month, Kayla's going to be there. I know those guys have megaphones too. They could all take turns in case they wear out their voice like I always do. I still haven't figured out I can't control myself when I get on the corner. I got to scream to the world about how fucked up things are. That's how I am, you guys. That's I cannot control like my frustration and my tone of voice. some people it puts off, but it's just like every time I get on the corner, I say, I'm going to conserve my voice today because I'm talking through the megaphone and the mic, which already makes it loud. But then I can't. I get out there and I'm talking about this shit and I'm mad as hell. And then my voice is worn out in an hour or so. But I got to figure out that part of it. Or we got to get better people out there who can speak and control their voice. We need some pro singers. So, yeah, anyhow. Was there another super chat? There was. Thank you very much. That's a big super chat. Clee Argo, $20. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, we didn't do the 50-year hip-hop thing, Jonathan and I yet. Jonathan's going to do TFR with me the whole episode tomorrow. We'll take calls too, but it'll be Jonathan and I. And I got something to talk about for the 50th anniversary of hip-hop that's going to apply to everybody, whether you care about hip-hop music or not. I'm going to talk about what Kathy Hochul and Chuck Schumer did in essentially the first hour of the 8-hour ceremony for hip hop. H is the 8th letter, hip hop, HH, H8, 8-hour ceremony in Yankee Stadium. Oh my God, it got so political and gross and by the numbers. And again, it just speaks to what I've been talking about. Kathy Hochul brought out a 9-year-old and said that he would be back on the stage in 50 years. So when he's 59. And she guaranteed that he's the future of hip hop, and they all heard it there first. Well, he got out and spoke. He didn't rap at all, and maybe he was nervous. He looked very uncomfortable, this 9-year-old. But, of course, he gave a political speech for the politicians. And he's the poet laureate, which historically goes back to Rome, and that's what the Romans used to persuade people to go along with the propaganda. Poets. So how about bringing out a little 9-year-old poet to persuade political propaganda for Kathy Hochul and Chuck Schumer? But it's so gross what they did, you guys, having the boy dressed in green and going back how to hip-hop was born the year of Roe versus Wade. And remember how green the Roe versus Wade overturning was and the big focus on black women and all the young black babies that have been killed from abortion. And then you got the first black woman Supreme Court justice at the same time by the numbers, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Again, everything we've been talking about, it's like if you're aware of the knowledge in the code, you see the ritual, you see the spell, you see how big it is. Again, Roe versus Wade overturning was all 201. Ketanji Brown Jackson's all 201. All this stuff's been 201. Back to 201 men in the control group for the Tuskegee experiment. Anyway, we're going to talk about that ritual and just how really from having the knowledge and seeing, you can see everything that's going on and who's behind the hip hop. Like I've always said, I mean, it's been used as a weapon coinciding with politics. Gangsta rap promoting the selling of crack cocaine and who's got the biggest nuts on the street, who can move the most weight. That became the coolest music on the West Coast and spread all over the nation. At the same time, all of these new drug laws for cocaine. And all of a sudden now there's cocaine all over the hood that couldn't afford cocaine, but now there's cheap crack cocaine that's more addictive, putting all these black people in prison. And yeah, I noticed it like blew my mind. I've only watched the first hour and a half of the 8 hours, and I do intend to watch more of it just to see what else happens. But it blew my mind that the first song they play in New York for the history of hip hop is Eazy-E. Really? Eazy-E. Like Eazy-E wasn't even liked by the East Coast when it came out. They thought they were putting a bad name on hip hop, making all about the gangsterism. Again, the original East Coast hip hop was about why you should stay off drugs and not end up as a bum on the street. Now all of a sudden the West Coast has hip hop, and it's all about pushing the drug gang culture. You know, it was the opposite of that when it started. So it's not an accident that they started with the Eazy-E song. And then, like I was just saying, I was looking into Eazy-E, who died 201 days after his birthday. He didn't even want to be a rapper. He wasn't comfortable rapping. Took him a whole bunch of takes to get the song down. He was like pushed into it by other people around him who probably had already signed on the line. Now they needed to get their friends in with them. So, you know what? But even though it took Eazy-E a bunch of takes, a lot of people still like his music to this day. But yeah, it just seemed like a weird song since gangster rap's not the beginning of hip hop and it's from the West Coast, not the East Coast in New York where the celebration was. It's just like, how can they start with that? And at a time when the nation's like having more drug epidemics than there ever was, especially with fentanyl. Okay. All right, I got to get back to my writing assignments for the day. Thank you again to everyone who hits the like and the share. Thank you to everyone who's generous and made a donation. Again, if you ever do want to support the work, it's much appreciated. Again, it pays for things like getting out and doing giveaways like we've done in the past, running the websites that we run, freetofindtruth.com, social media for truth seekers that's censorship free, provides ways to network and organize. Actually has a lot of nice bells and whistles. But the problem I see so far is not enough people want to network and organize. And again, like I said, you guys, if the time ever comes where you realize, like, fuck, today could be my Maui day, you'll if you have enough time, there will be a flash in your mind at least where you have a feeling of regret that you didn't do more to stop what was coming that you'd heard about might be coming for a long time. And that's part of the thing that motivates me to stay on this the way I have for the last decade. Because I knew time was short back then. I'm glad that we've had a whole nother 10 years. But I really do worry about the year 2025, and I've expressed why. A lot of predictive programming for 2025. And don't forget, the same people who simulated Event 201 and Claydex, they did the SPARS 2025 pandemic. And some of these guys like Bill Gates keep telling us about the next pandemic, how we haven't done enough yet to be prepared. Anyway. Thank you, Oh Heisman 7, if I said that right. Appreciate it. All right. But yeah, again, thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And remember, GematriaEffectNews 25 is the main channel. I have been doing streams the last few days, just using some of my channels that I have while I got them. I've been streaming on Gematria Effect Sports, GematriaEffectNews 22, which I thought they were going to take down 22 like they took down 24, but it survived. It survived, at least for now. So yeah, if you're not on GematriaEffectNews 25, though, you should sub that channel. I put out by far the most content there. And if you're not missing my videos if you're missing my videos for long periods of time, it's because you're not on GematriaEffectNews 25 right now. And then eventually that channel might be suspended and I might have to switch over to, again, right now I still got 22, 23, 25 in sports. They got rid of 24. And why did they get rid of 24? Hadn't used the channel for a year and they took it down. They took it down because it had our cross-country trip bringing people together from Seattle to New York. And I guarantee they just didn't like that. They didn't like to see the diversity and the collaboration. And that was the reason that channel got taken down, which really did annoy me. I mean, it's not easy to drive across the whole nation and pound payment like every day almost for 2 weeks straight, except for like the last 3 days that I was just driving straight back from New York to Seattle. But yeah, it was a marathon tour. It was very cool. And sadly, since then, just funding has gone down every month. And I don't think that's the people's problem. I think that's what these platforms are doing, because every month there's just a ton of people dropping at the beginning of the month and a lot of people who can't get signed back up. So anyway, my funding has drastically been cut for, I think, bringing people together out on the streets of America, not where they want us in the post-pandemic years where you can be safe and cozy and germ-free with your digital fed now watching Netflix, you know. So being outside, not such a good idea. Just, you think there's problems out there, vote for Joe Biden or Donald Trump, because one of the political parties is eventually going to save the world. And Jesus will come back too. You can listen to the Misfits and play Madden and NBA 2K or Diablo 4, whatever game you want to play. You know, you can make your life about that, get passionate about that. Or, hey, you can join us. Again, it just blows my mind that like the biggest game is out fighting digital demons when there's literally like these demons that need to be fought, and there's so few people that are willing. I guess it is easier to fight digital demons. It's a lot less risky. Oh man, this world we live in. This world, man. The lack of care for things that matter. Wemby's hair ritual? What is that? You always got some requests. They're usually pretty good, though. Thank you. Wemby's hair ritual. I have no idea what Wemby is. Who is Wemby? Oh, is that what they're calling the Spurs star player? If this is the question, I don't got anything for the Wemby hair ritual. Let me see. Is it the basketball player? Purple stripe, huh? He's from France, like the Jesuits. I don't know. It just I'm sure that the way they use these people symbolically, I'm sure there is something to it, but it's just in light of Maui burning up, I just don't feel like the next most persuasive thing is okay. And now from Maui on fire to Wemby's purple hair stripe. So or being played with in politics. But yeah, there probably is something there if we investigate. I'll leave it to somebody else. And before I get off, I do got to do one more thing. I got to show Amy wanted us to check out her post about the death in New Orleans. Been some stuff going on with New Orleans. Maple Leafs prospect dead at 21. New Orleans Mayor Jason Cantrell. It's amazing how many young athletes just die. Seemingly nobody cares. They were too busy playing video games. They didn't notice. Jason Cantrell, dead at 55. Means he's dead in his 56th year of life. And you do have Jesuit Loyola. When I went down to New Orleans for the Jesuit ritual they did with Joe Burrow and Billy Cannon on the anniversary of Ignatius Loyola getting shot with a cannonball, Billy Cannon dies and Joe Burrow goes to LSU just to relive Billy Cannon's legacy, and then plays all four of his teams in the year he goes to the Super Bowl and the NFL and the playoffs. But when I went down there, I was blown away by how nice Tulane and the Jesuit University are. They're right across the street from each other on a beautiful park in a really fancy neighborhood. That reminds me of like where all the old slave masters must have lived, and their big homes with their big columns out. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful area where those campuses are. I was like, God, I didn't know it was so nice down here. It's like one of the nicest things I ever saw. All right, but 234 days from his birthday, his death was announced, and Mark of the Beast has the 144, 234. Jason Cantrell also has the Jesuit Order Mark of the Beast connection. Same numbers we talked about with Kobe. And her birthday is April 3rd. All right, so from the mayor's birthday to the husband's death. Okay. Let me see. The mayor's name is 55, and the husband's dead at 55. And again, Satan is 55, and so is God, and we were talking about that earlier. And these authorities, seemingly thinking they're gods over humanity, just think they can lie to us each day to control us. Again, you got to really believe in your agenda to justify behavior like that. Because you have to get in the mind of like how you can do that. Like just really lie to people every day in very serious ways to control them. Or it's that a gun's to your head too if you don't go along. You know, we'll kill your whole family if you just don't go along. And it could be like that too. But whatever it is, again, it's gangster. Speaking of gangster, we got a 99 on the screen. Let's remember Sopranos equals 99. Start on Jesuit Network HBO in 99, and then get the first Jesuit Pope in 2013, and Tony Soprano dies on his 99th day of being Pope. The mayor in New Orleans, I guess, is 99, and the death comes 99 days from the anniversary of her taking office. See, that's probably right. I leave stuff like that out of my own decodes. I just like, to me, it's like the thing to start off with in this decode is rather than all these numbers, like to me, this is the secondary thing. The thing to start off with is dead at 55, LaToya Cantrell equals 55. That's where we start, right? Always start, and I almost always start in the same spot, the number they give you or why it's on that day of the year. So to me, that's the starting point for this. And then you can make the connection with how 55 is connected to Satan and Satan's the beast, and then get into all the beast thing. You know, Rich yesterday was on here closing out my stream, and again, he was talking about how starting in the right place is key. And then what I found funny from being in the other room listening, well, if you guys missed last night's stream, I was making dinner and I had to get dinner going, so I let Rich do the end of the stream. I just thought it was funny that when Rich then went into his example, he started in an okay place, but he definitely missed the right starting place for his story. I was like, if you're going to compare Trump and the flag, you have to mention that Trump's born on the flag's birthday. That's the starting place, and then get into all the number connections. And sometimes I mess up and forget to start in the right place. Yesterday, when I did the Maui video, I meant to make the point about Maui equals 64 right away in light of what happened in the month of Hawaii turning 64 as a state, and in light of everything that went down in 1964 from Hurricane Dora to Mountain Dew getting bought by Pepsi, in light of the Maui Burst brand and how that was perfectly synced, the release of that flavor, with what happened in Maui. DEW, DEW, the abbreviation for direct energy weapon, which is a real military thing, and they have them on tops of the mountain peaks in Hawaii. Symbolic. She is the 62nd mayor. Obama just turned 62, by the way. So sacrifice 62. That's probably part of it. We're seeing, again, Obama's part of this legacy. There's been a lot more black leaders since Obama. Obama turned 62. She's the 62nd mayor. We're just days after Obama's birthday again. And, I think Hawaii's part of that. The Simba thing's definitely part of that. Obama's chef was definitely part of that. The woman who danced with the Obamas in the lead up. But yeah, he's 62 now. So that's the other thing I see here. 55, 62. And for the record, we talked about where 55 connects with God and Satan, right? And numerology and Fibonacci and all that. Another name for God is Elohim, which is 62 as well, for the record. And you think of a name like Jordan. Jordan's got that 6226 like God. Bryant's got that 2637. In Hebrew Gematria, the numbers 26 and 37 are associated with God. But yeah, great work, Amy. And don't mind my constructive criticism. But yeah, I just think anytime you can start the story with the number they're just putting in your face. And for you, it would have been perfect because, again, it transfers into Satan and the beast. So I just think that's the easier progression. And keep in mind, too, we're probably more effective if that's all we even showed was the 55 and did a 30-second video. That's where all the people who are in entertainment, that's all the time they got for truth. 30 seconds is probably pushing it. Which is a crime I'm guilty of every day. I am going to get on TikTok, though, with this 30-second, 1-minute video idea. I tried it. Again, it was successful when I first tried it. I got over 100,000 views in a video pretty quick. And then I couldn't get any more views after that video. It's like every video had like 300 views. I was like, oh, now I can only, wow, I just had all these people and now all I can get is 300 views. It's weird. Feels like what Google does. Okay. Okie dokie. Yeah. Wemby's hair ritual. Thank you again for the donation, but I'm going to save that one for the next person. So, all right, one last breeze of the chat. One more breeze of the chat. All right, glad you again, you guys. The woman who did the blog that I was just giving some feedback on with the death of the mayor. She's cracked their code. That's her YouTube channel. She's doing YouTube videos as well. She's doing a great job. Cracktheircode.org is the website. Crack Their Code, all is one word with the right form of there. THEIR. THEIR. Crack Their Code. All one word. That's her YouTube channel. Amy says TikTok's been worse than YouTube. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of luck on there. RPM Trey says my shorts have been taken off YouTube. Way more traffic than my regular videos and live streams. Do shorts. Oh, you're saying they've been taken off. They've been doing well. Okay, not censored, but doing well. I did try shorts, but maybe I got to do them with the camera on my face, just talking, because I was doing them with like just a short image on the screen, and none of them got any views. Yeah, people told me I tried it over a year ago. I was putting out a lot of shorts, if you remember, about a year ago, but none of them got any views. I was like, I still can't get any views. It's like everything's an algorithm clamp. But maybe I should have just done the camera pointing at me, just talking to the camera. Maybe that would have been better. And if you guys aren't on RPM Trey's channel, he does a remarkable job of stopping the agenda with his clever tactic. He goes out on the street in Iowa where he lives, and he wears his AR and has a sign that says hug an AR owner to show that AR owners aren't scary people who need to have their rights taken away like the government wants to do. And He's cool with the police. They don't give him any trouble for the most part. Maybe a little bit more when he first started, but now they're just used to him being out there. The community loves it, and he seems to engage with new people every time he's out on the corner. But again, it's just another man getting out in his community, doing something to raise awareness and get people to think about things that they need to think about, like are AR owners bad people because Anderson Cooper says so. Here's an RPM tray, hug it, AR owner. Just saying hello to people, but also doing live streams and trying to share information and get people to think about things. So it's a great message. And I don't think Kayla's in the chat right now, but her channel is Kayla Decode Talker. And again, she's going to be, I don't know if we'll see if she can pull off the live stream. Hopefully she can, but I'm sure she'll at least record. Again, she's going to be out there at the women's WNBA game in Phoenix, September 8th, talking about the huge ritual they did with Brittany Griner by the numbers and more. Yeah, RPM Trey says talk to the camera. I think that's what I got to do. That might have been if my shorts strategy failed last year, it's because I was showing visuals on the screen so people could follow along. But maybe it's better to just talk, or maybe I really am in the super algorithm clamp and I just can't get out of it. Yeah, that's true, Patty Mills, too, because again, that's why the Bible's tough, because that verse does sound like it's plural gods, right? And then there's a debate about Elohim being a plural god, and then there's Baphomet, which is male and female, and the story of how the Templars supposedly started worshiping Baphomet instead of God, and Baphomet is satanic. Again, that's why I say, to me, it's obvious that the truth is not in reading these English translations of the Bible that are purposefully confusing and meant to, and again, just all by the numbers too. I mean, if you guys have never seen my work on the release date and publishing of the Bibles, the Gutenberg Bible, the King James Bible, it's just so obvious what's been going on all these years. Let me write out Gutenberg Bible. Go again, it's 66 books in length, and just go look into the publishing of it. And 66, you see how New Testament is 42. New Testament is 42 and 66. Again, 42 generations of Jesus, 66 books in the Protestant version. It begins with Matthew. The word math is 42 and 66. Notice how mathematics is the exact same as Catholicism in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. 112, like 1 plus 1 is 2. 185, 68. Catholicism. 112, 185, 68. Donald's 112. Donald John Trump is 68, 185. Jesuit servant of the Catholic Pope who posed with the Pope on the 144th day of the year. Going to be 78 for the upcoming election that's on the big Jesuit Guy Fawkes Day when Jesuits 78 like order out of chaos. How can I get my info in a short? I mean, I can easily do the Maui 64 thing in less than a minute. Just videos like that. It's easy to get it in a short. You just do it in chunks. If I want to talk about something else in Maui besides 64, just do another upload. Maui Part 2, The Mad Truther. Donald Trump's ritual in Georgia. I can get that in a minute. I might do 3 separate 1-minute videos, or just one with the main point. The mayor's death, the mayor's husband's death, dead at just 55 out of nowhere. I mean, I can explain that in 15-second upload. Yeah, it's easy. I mean, how long does it take to talk about 9/11 in 1968? I can get the whole story out there almost in under a minute. I've done that for people. People have asked me to do a 1-minute video for their channel for 9/11 in 1968. So you can just keep creating 1-minute videos. Shit, man, you can publish like 100 videos a day, easy. 100 1-minute Gematria uploads. Here's Kayla. Here's Kayla. She's going to be at the Footprint Center, Phoenix Mercury game, Phoenix Sun Stadium. And I imagine that's still in Phoenix. I think they just had the event 201 there the other year to remodel the stadium before the Suns made it to the finals. Yeah, it's in the same place. It's at 201 East Jefferson Street. Oh, yeah. The Footprint Center at 201 East Jefferson. That's probably going to be an interesting day to talk about stuff live. That's the Virgin Mary's birthday. She's going to be out there. Last year with the Queen. Remember, the Queen died 201 days after her COVID diagnosis last year on the Virgin Mary's birthday, and her birth name's Mary. Trump and the royal family and the 201s and the Florida lay on their crown. Man, you can just spitball all day about this. There's so much. All right, yeah, I'll look into starting that TikTok Mad Truther and see if we can not get censored again. I won't hold my breath. I just feel like we get censored everywhere. I've been censored on so many platforms. There are literally video streaming platforms that don't exist anymore that we tried out that we got censored on. That's how bad it's been. That's how bad it's been. Censorship, man. These big tech people don't respect First Amendment. And you go to the big tech campuses and you'll start to see why. It's the revenge of the nerds. To put it politely, it's the revenge of the nerds. It's a lot of the people who got bullied and who were soft in high school and got picked on, and now they got the tech job, and now they like having power over people. That's why they do this. They like exerting their power over humanity by writing the code that fucks with us all. Revenge of the nerds, and don't forget how that movie synced up with Bill Gates. You guys think I'm joking? That Revenge of the Nerds was another 201 ritual in history. Big tech 201 all over it. People think I'm joking right now. I'm not joking. That's how big the jokes are. All right, we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Back to finishing the short book. Kobe Bryant Day is fast approaching. I got to make sure I hit my deadline. I'm so bad with deadlines, you guys. I was listening to one great author, and he was going through every bullet point of a great author. And I was like, oh, I got that, man. Maybe I am a great author. And then he got to the last one, and he's like, and the most important to be a great author is to hit your deadlines. And I was like, fuck. Oh, man, I've been terrible at hitting the deadline. So, okay, I got a lot of improvement. Right when I was thinking I was a great author, listen to this guy, I was like, oh, shit. Got to hit the deadlines. So, anyway, we're going to try to hit the deadline for Kobe Bryant Day. I got to be honest, but covering all this crazy shit going on, I feel like I've gotten a little bit behind on my editing process. I think I can still get it done, but it won't be long after if I miss. And I feel like I have a little bit more extra time because now we know when the Kobe Bryant statue comes out, 8/8/2024. That said, I do want to be at the Lakers Stadium multiple times this season. I feel like bringing a crowd out multiple times. There's a lot of people who will be out at those Lakers games every time. The people who sell tickets, the people who have season tickets, the people who go to the bar across the street to watch the game outside with a bunch of other people. Again, there's a lot going on there at that Lakers Stadium. And, man, imagine just 4 times throughout the year, you're like, I remember this crowd, man, this crowd is more interested. I got to look more into this. There's thousands of people out there. And the other thing is that I feel like as long as it stays up somewhere on a big tech platform, it's also interesting content to watch online. So you're engaging with people in the flesh you need to be engaged with. And hopefully you're creating something that inspires more people to come out to the next one and go out and do the same thing in their community. And like I say, we need everybody at every Trump rally this year, every sports game, out on the corner like Kayla's going to be, like other people have done, educating about what's going on. And yeah, I might not be in New York for 9/11 this year, which I feel bad about because I do want to make this an annual tradition. But again, support got decimated this year, you guys. Support got absolutely destroyed. And the other thing I'm worried about is I have the IRS crawling up my ass right now. And I haven't had this for about 10 years now. It's been almost 10 years. I think next year will be 10 years since the last time I was dealing with the IRS. It was either the end of 2014 or the start of 2015. So we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary. So it's been less than 10 years since I had to deal with the IRS. Now here we go again. Yesterday I announced that my accountant says that I'm the first person for all of their firm to get this letter for this new process that's really confusing. And essentially it's a time hassle. So I'm like, oh, so the IRS is giving me a time hassle. It's so annoying. And what annoys me the most is I am complying, and I don't want to be complying. I feel bad about complying with the IRS and paying taxes because I see what our criminal government is. So I feel kind of like a sellout to humanity. But again, I already had a problem with the IRS recently, and they're not fun to deal with. And it's actually, this is now the 3rd time in my life I've had to deal with the IRS. The first time was before I was in the research, and they gave me this huge fine for not claiming like jack shit in bank interest on my savings account. Like literally a couple dollars that I forgot to claim on my taxes. So I got a fine, and then I had to pay the fine by this day. And I did, which I felt robbed about. I remember sitting on the hold with the IRS for like 3 hours before my line was disconnected and I never talked to anybody. And then I called back the next day And with the person I finally get on the phone with after waiting forever, they're telling me like there's no recourse. I just need to sign in the fine by this day or there'll be a bigger fine. So I send in the fine, and then, just like they said, a check with all these numbers. So they say they never get it. So I end up having to pay a bigger fine. I was just like, this is bullshit, man. Time waste over not claiming a fucking couple dollars in a savings account. Are you kidding me? In a bank account with hardly any money. The one thing I was doing back then is I was speaking out at events. I wonder if it could have even started back then. Michael Moore put out his movie back then about how after 9/11, the feds were like infiltrating groups, investigating things. So who knows? Maybe actually being fucked with back then was the same type of thing. But so it's just like, since doing this though online, it's the second time. I'm going to ask the accounting firm that I have how many clients they have to be the first person to get this form. They said it's a newer form. Remember, the IRS just hired a bunch of new people. I think they hired 88,000, if I remember right. But yeah, you guys, I mean, that's the thing about doing this work. It just brought a lot of bullshit into my life. My life was a lot easier before I started doing this, but I don't regret doing this. Even though my life would probably be a lot financially better off, a lot less drama, a lot less stress, a lot less people fucking with me. Probably would have never had a car crash through my house on Christmas Eve like it happened in 2016. All the other shit, getting arrested in my front yard, having the FBI come here. Now this thing with the IRS, it's just going to be a time suck. The one thing I got to give them credit for is I have until Halloween to get everything done. So Halloween's the deadline. I was like, oh, nice deadline. Halloween. And now since recently the IRS made some changes. The West Coast used to send all their shit to San Francisco. Now we send it to another Jesuit town, Cincinnati. That happened the same year the Bengals went back to the Super Bowl and the Who returned to Cincinnati for the first time since the tragic deaths at the Who concert in Cincinnati on, what was it, Xavier's, it's either his birthday or his death anniversary. Again, the Jesuit University in Cincinnati is named after Xavier. What a coincidence. Xavier equals the Who equals murder equals 79, like it happened in 1979. But yeah, anyway, if I don't, what I was saying is if I don't make it out to New York this year, I'll definitely make it out to New York a lot more. And I'll try to make it back out to New York as fast as I can in the next most important time. There should be a lot of shit going on with the election. But where I will be on 9/11 or for that weekend this year is in Seattle if I don't go to New York. And I'll be teaching about 9/11 in Seattle and the dead Seahawks this offseason and Russell Wilson's last season. And what's interesting about this year being the 48th season for the Seahawks in light of them going to Super Bowl 48. So we'll do an educational day with the football fans showing how sports and politics overlap. And hopefully we get some more people out in Seattle that want to share the mic and speak so I can save my voice and make it through. When we go out in pound payment, we do 12-hour days, And if you guys watch, I'll work my ass off. I won't eat anything. I'll be drinking some water. But again, we maximize our time and getting out the message and trying to wake up as many people as possible. But it takes resources. And since resources have been cut in more than half since going out to Oklahoma City and New York City, I just know that to continue down that road right now, it's going to continue to drain because it's not the people, it's the people who control the platforms where we raise the funds that are doing it. I got to create some other revenue streams to sustain if this is going to just continue to go down, which is the way it feels because it just goes down every month. It's like there's no recourse and it's the same shit every month. Zach, I'm sorry, it disconnected me and now it's not taking my credit card this month. I don't know what to do. I'll say, well, you can try out Free to Find Truth, my website, but a lot of people seemingly don't want to do that. Or it could be the problem on that. Like on the Apple store, it's like blocking people's credit cards for signing up for Free to Find Truth. It's just, that's what I hate about this electronic world. Your money flow can be controlled by authorities, right? That can happen in this world, in the physical world, but it just makes it easier to control. The digital flow of money is so much easier controlled. If you have a business where people are coming in every month to support you and put cash in your hand, what's to intervene from them doing that? When you're on one of these platforms, they can cut off your credit card and then make some glitch in the system so now your card doesn't work, your email's not recognized. That's what's going on. And this digital electric world, it just opens up so many more shenanigans from these people. It's just that much easier to manipulate. We're essentially living in a virtual world that they created for us to operate in, instead of the natural world where we have more ability and access and whatever else you want to say. It's like in this digital world, it's like it's a trap. It's a trap. All right, I got to get back to writing assignment though. Deadline's coming up. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. And until next time, Truth Seeker.